Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us in the metaverse. We are at episode number 52. This makes it 1 year as the Metaverse Nomads. So that's pretty cool. Excited to be here for another consistent week. We're here every single Sunday. Three of the usual suspects. And with us, we have two guests. I'll go ahead and start with the usual suspects, man. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing all right. Pretty humid here in Puerto Rico. But other than that, lots of news and opinions and thoughts to cover today. So let's get into it.
Yeah, it's cooking here in Amsterdam as well. How you doing, Fancy?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Looking forward to the episode.
Awesome. And so we've got two here from Dark. We've got Signal and Cosmo. How are you guys doing?
Really good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. So as special guests of Dark Matter, you guys want to take a moment and just share a little bit about each of you and just kind of how you found your way to the Metaverse and Star Atlas?
Do you want to go first?
I'll let Cosmo kick it off.
I'll go first. Okay. So I'm 21, residing in the Midwest in the United States. I got involved in the Metaverse through a roommate. So I was actually looking at different NFT projects once I stumbled upon Bored Ape Yacht Club selling $100,000 worth NFTs, and he introduced me to Star Atlas. I was like, okay, I'll check it out, and I ended up buying like an X4 or X5 to start it out, and I was just like, wow, this idea is genius, and I can't wait until the game comes out.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so my background was mainly in stocks, equities, and trading options. I got involved in crypto after the big market boom. And said, I dismissed this whole area and asset class for so long of a time. Let me actually dig into it for once and figure out what it's about. Obviously, I fell in love with the technology. After running around experimenting with a whole bunch of different platforms, instantly fell in love with Solana. And then in my research for Solana, stumbled upon Star Atlas and absolutely loved it as a project. Wanted to get involved with it, and finally started getting involved with it around $1 Polis and below. So maybe a low point in some ways for the community, but also it just seems like a great time to be here. Really excited.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for being here, guys. And to both of your points, it's once you get in the umbrella of crypto in general, you go way down the rabbit hole into NFT gaming, and then our imaginations might get the best of us with particular genres of games. So yeah, it happened to me as well, where I played a whole bunch of space games, but hey, I want to own my ship. I want to do damage with it, and then potentially risk it all, in a battle per se, or just earn from playing. So this whole shift in how we think about gaming with our diverse gaming backgrounds is a big part of why I particularly am here and started getting down with the crypto.
Absolutely. And the idea even of a totally distributed player-owned, censorship-resistant gaming universe is pretty insane and incredible.
Right.
Imagining a scenario of like what would happen if World of Warcraft was entirely owned and controlled by players and couldn't be shut down by anybody. But that creates some really interesting opportunities for what you could build and create.
Right. There's a mad dash to who's going to be first. We see it happening before our eyes, and we cover some games and studios that are doing such things. But look at RuneScape. It developed in a way over time with no words of what we're talking about now, with no per se ideas of what Bitcoin actually and blockchain introduced to us. So yeah, go ahead to adjust that. So yeah,
I've got to ask myself every day, who is working on that? Who is working on the World of Warcraft of blockchain? And the reason that's so significant is that at least we know the playability. We know the draw, we know the attraction. And so there's nothing new in the gameplay side we need to be introduced to. The attraction would be the fact that it's all on chain and it has a real player-run economy. That to me is exciting, as where a lot of the projects that are coming up now, even including all the ones we talk about, there is still the playability side of it that has to pass approval. to where it's just fun to play. So I'm still surprised that there is not who's working in the World of Warcraft or the equivalent of something that's already been proven to be fun to play, but just needs to be on chain now.
I'm really hoping we are.
Right.
We know it's going to take a long time, no matter what any development project leader tells us it's going to take, whether 4 to 2 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, or 10 to 12 years, and whatever else any other person thinks about it. It's going to take time, and don't listen to any one person with when these are going to be launched, I'd say.
Oh, 100%. You look at any major title, even starting with like Destiny with Activision Blizzard and, pretty much anything that they kicked off. I must have followed that company for years, and Destiny wasn't even being called Destiny when it was being made. It was Project Titan, and no one had any idea what was being created, how it was being made, what was happening, and just years went by before it even started getting an official title. I'm like, oh, this is going to be Destiny. And even then, after years, you just start getting these tiny little leaks of, what was coming out. I think it's very easy for us to get impatient or dissatisfied when we're operating under a totally different model. Rather than years and years and years before you even get a trailer and a hint at what was being made all this time, we're inside year one and we're going to be running around a UE5 showroom and, we're setting up a player-owned decentralized autonomous organization with the DAO. So much is happening right now, right in front of us. And I think we're a little too used to, as gamers, non-iterative processes where someone just taps us on the shoulder and goes, hey, it took us half a decade to build this, but here it is today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And just quickly, we did get a comment asking if you're able to turn your volume up a little bit. So that'd be appreciated.
And I think that was for you, Signal.
Oh, sure. You guys having an issue hearing me?
Yeah, on the low
little
side.
bit louder would be better. Thank you.
Yeah, see what I can do.
Perfect.
Sweet.
So how about we dive into our first Metaverse news story?
Cool.
Well, I wanted to ask actually a question for our guests. Do you want to talk more a little bit more on what your guild is and what it's about, and then maybe where we can find you guys on the socials?
Sure. So we'll start with socials. We have a Twitter. Our Twitter handle is, I believe it's Dark Matter DAC. And what we are as a guild, we specialize in the high risk zone, primarily just like exploration, research, as well as your general piracy that everyone knows and loves. We take pride in our one player, one vote. Everybody has a say. The Pirate Council is only there for your operational day-to-day tasks. And we are just more than excited, and once we get in the high risk zone and once that's released, to go out and cause mayhem for some people.
Right. What faction are you guys aligned with out of the three?
We're Ooster.
Okay. So some camaraderie here between factions. It's not all one-sided on the show. For those watching, thinking we're yes, we are fully ONI, and we were the first to come out as Rome. But is there any other substantial things or things you want to mention about the guild, and maybe operations, or anything that you'd want anyone watching to hear about you guys if they're considering joining an Ooster guild?
I'd say the biggest thing about us, if anybody were asking me tomorrow, what they needed to know about Dark, is that we have no kings. We're 100%, just like Star Atlas itself intends to be, a player-owned and operated guild. If you have some kind of title within the organization, all that means is you have more responsibilities. You don't get a greater share of anything. We're about our people. We're about making friends and buddies and just having a community ahead of having a business or some corporation in the metaverse. It's pretty hard to break the model of just a bunch of guys hanging out and having fun playing games, and that's really what we are first.
Well, I love the idea of like staking claim and saying, you know what, we're out in deep space where all the risk is happening, and if you're missing some cargo, we probably have it. So my question is like, what are you guys' thoughts on how you plan to like mitigate risk? If you've got a whole fleet out there and for whatever reason you find yourself outgunned and outclassed, that's a lot of risk. So what are you guys' thoughts about that?
That's a good question. I think our game plan would be to have one tight-knit home base. And we have our own pirate code that we follow. That if you join our Discord, it is one of the first things that you will read and see about us. So if we're in like an ONI zone or a mud zone out in the high risk, we are a lot more cautious than when we are in our own booster high risk zone, since we don't plan on attacking Ooster only guilds as of now, unless some conflict arises. We have alliances as of now, and we think those will be beneficial when we start migrating to the high risk zone and expanding our operations.
Yeah, awesome. I think on a grander scale, like broadening the horizons here with just everything we're involved in with Star Atlas, I think it's totally okay if not any one guild has exactly what they think they're going to be in the future down packed when it comes to speaking on a white paper. We can do a Goki, multi-sig wallet. We can pay a dev to get NFTs done. And what does that really peacock to the outside world and traditional players? That we're more sophisticated in some way, but if you learn and stay in the space a little bit longer, to your point, Signal, eventually this is what the whole space is going to turn into: businesses on top of businesses with a bunch of people who have different interests or similar interests, and they're going to be all dispersed and then it comes down to marketing. Like, who is going to be the best at marketing their story in a way that is going to attract more people at the front of the gate before they get into the gate, and then they have a guild further down inside the gate when they enter the Web3 space. So for what it's worth, I would suggest and give this advice to anyone watching: whether you want to start content, which is going to be crucial for this space when it comes to NFT gaming, especially around guilds, just get into it. Just start doing it. Don't even worry about anything, and especially if you're part of a group with more than one person in it, right? And I'm going to say you guys are leaders in a sense, directing the like you guys, the group of what your guild is and the players in it. It's always going to be a refining process. So trial and error is the way to go here, and we're all learning together. Even Wagner and the developers on Solana. So we're all on the similar levels here when it comes to just the nascency of this all.
It's all theory crafting at this point anyway, and just speculation. Even I saw that one of the questions that Funcracker asked on Alpha Industries on their show, where they just interviewed Wagner yesterday. They were asking him his opinion on multi-faction guilds because that's what they want to become, and Wagner was kind of hesitant to give an opinion on that. The truth is, if they don't even know the pros and cons of all of these things within Star Atlas, how can we possibly know and say this is exactly what we're going to do? But it's still fun to theory craft and say, hey, here's where the direction we'd like to go, for sure.
Well, I think that's one of the greatest things about our model is if you say one of the only things that really guides you or controls you is the fact that you don't have kings, you don't have rulers, you're 100% player owned and controlled. What that really tells you is the manifest destiny of dark matter is going to be what the next 1,000 members and players decide that we are. As long as you have guiding principles like that and you go into things in advance with that kind of flexibility, saying we're going to be about what our members want to be about. That we might come in saying, okay, pirates, high risk zone. This is how we're going to function. This is how it all works. The fact of the matter is today we might be 100 people, right, all hanging out with each other, deciding what that looks like today. When we have 10,000 more people with different ideas and different things that they'd like to see, we're limited only by the will of our members. So I really like that flexibility.
Well said. Well, Usually on the show, we do some sort of general news coverage, and you're more than welcome to chime in with your opinions and thoughts as we run through some of these articles we compile for the week, just to talk generally on what's going on in the space outside of maybe a Star Atlas or any other particular game, but the industry as a whole. So, Fancy, what do we got?
Yeah, and we will have more questions for you guys afterwards. So first story today is about Microsoft deciding they don't want NFTs and NFT projects using Minecraft.
Get out of here, Minecraft. You don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah. I
Huge
think,
surprise that a big corporation doesn't want player-owned assets.
Right. Whoa.
Yeah, and I think the crazy thing about this story is that data shows that nearly 163 million's worth of NFTs have been traded on NFT World so far. So that just got paused or deleted, and that's kind of what happens when you build on Web 2. This is a quote. This is a good reminder of why you shouldn't build on Web 2 networks owned by corporations. The rules for developers are changed on a whim. And yeah, it is quite a crazy story, but I think the concept of building and like monetizing a game that you didn't build is also quite crazy. So I wonder if there's going to be any action taking into all that money they did earn.
Right. And my heart goes out to NFT Worlds. That project had such popularity with what they were doing in the beginning, and it took only about 12 months for Microsoft to make this decision, which was unfortunate because it should have happened earlier. Because I'll even admit that it's too early still for any traditional company coming in without a foolproof plan. And as far as everyone in that company specifically, there needs to be a general understanding in all the different departments of the team that contribute to, I guess, the building and the marketing and the development of any of this. So many people have lost money. If you're not keeping up with your NFT prices, it's a shame. But yeah, NFT Worlds was a great, promising project, and it's not to say that it's disappearing forever. You just gotta, adapt.
Yeah, I don't see why they would ban NFTs when no one's forcing them to buy them. And you can play Minecraft without having the NFTs. You can play on other worlds or servers. You don't need to buy $1,000 NFT to have fun in the game. That's the part that I don't understand. Why ban something when it's not forcing players to buy anything?
When I see an activity like that, that is a push towards the industry because they want to stretch out the lifespan of centralization. And so that's them saying, hey, we're not going to play along. And hopefully by us not playing along, because we're big kids in the block, that means it takes longer for the industry as a whole to adopt and transition. So that's what I see that kind of pushback being.
Well, the biggest thing and the scariest thing about it when you talk about these centralized organizations that control an entire gaming universe, what the message is as an individual player, you're not allowed to create value inside that space that you can recapture. Don't get me wrong, you're creating massive amounts of value by logging tons of gaming hours, by running around, building things, doing this stuff, engaging with other players. But the moment that you create something inside their world and try to take something back for you and go, look at this thing I built. I should be able or entitled to some kind of contribution back for it. All of a sudden, the corporations want to take their football and go home. They want to go, no.
Or duffel bag of money.
Idea. We're going to use that, but no soup for you.
They're more concerned with how much screen space they can use for ad space before inducing seizures. IOI.
There's something great to be said about a model for a gaming universe that's built day one that encourages this versus trying to build your own value inside of a universe that was never meant to give you anything back.
Right.
And why not, instead of ban it, why not just like place a fee every time it's traded, like maybe like a 1%, 0.5%. So at least you're getting, or I guess Microsoft gets a portion of all trades. And if they're trading $164 million, you may only get $1 million, but that's $1 million more than you had before.
Exactly. And I think to Jess's point, the underlining reason why I think you're spot on is because there's a lack of understanding. So the lack of understanding, I think, trumps just their tactic of lengthening the amount of time to benefit them in a way, or for the industry to catch up to them to then where they see it profitable enough. Because again, we're not the fly on the wall here, but I think there's a clear misunderstanding and a lack of education on things happening in this space for clear reasons why they don't just do with what you mentioned with a 1% here. There's different ways that you can still benefit and introduce this technology, introduce this way of thinking that could then grow on your user base, and you would still be able to capture and then end up making way more money in the future if you do it the right way. And what's the right way? Again, there's no perfect way, but there's a lot of success that's happening right now with projects as small or as big as you want to say they are in the Web3 gaming space. And there's so much more potential. So you see these people coming in and out from the traditional space. And it's just like, when is anyone going to take the torch and really experiment themselves in a way that's going to, lead the traditional gamers into this Web3 NFT gaming space, like we all want it to be.
And honestly, a little bit selfishly, news like this is a great relief to make. You've got a major title that's shunning away from player ownership, on top of the fact that Microsoft has their bid in to acquire Activision Blizzard. Countless massive gaming universes that would have been great cases for player ownership and player equity. Really, you're getting a signal in advance that those things are going to be off the table for very large franchises in the future. So one less thing to compete with.
Right.
Perhaps Microsoft's strategy is getting 100% of the profits instead of just 1%. Like, it's a game that's been $20 for like 10 years now, and people spent 163 million when NFTs were attached. So,
100% is better than 2%. So
I think you're onto something there. But also, we ignore also just a side tangent on the percentages that are taken. I guess YouTube is at a 55% when it comes to ad revenue, and then everyone's talking about Apple, right? Or Amazon, where it's just like 55% is way higher than any Apple or Amazon percentage that we know of that's publicly talked about. So it's just like,
and Meta's going even higher. Meta is going to be even higher than that. And they can, and the reason they can do that is because they already know that they have such a sizable market share and user base that they already have people who have adopted the behavior of using their ecosystem. They don't have to retrain them for another behavior. I guarantee you, the moment that Meta has a viable metaverse, it's going to be easy to get its user base to start using it because it's already something that's familiar to them. And so they get to leverage that for as long as they can, until people become generally crypto savvy and can navigate the world of decentralization and wallets and all that sort of thing. They're going to make it really easy, and they're going to charge a crazy fee for it.
Yeah, but until then, we're going to keep on getting more stories like this. But it is the first of its kind. So in regards to Coinbase, 3 were charged for insider trading. A former Coinbase employee was allegedly tipping his brother and friends regarding crypto assets that were going to be listed on Coinbase. So there were quite a lot of posts about like people just looking at these wallets and then seeing like the release dates of coins like just a few days after. It's all very transparent on the blockchain, and I'm not surprised reading something like this.
Yeah, that's one way to make your money. Instead of being a Microsoft and trying to get in early or eventually, you could just do some insider trading and sharing information. So yeah, first of its kind, I think, in the courts of the Southern District of New York. That's why it was such a big news topic, because nothing like this really happened in the courts per se on this specific topic.
But is the assumption that it's only because it's a publicly traded company that this is the case. And I say this because if the same thing happened on Binance, are the people that work there eligible to be targeted for insider trading? So is it just specifically because of Coinbase being a publicly traded company?
I believe so. And with crypto being such a non-regulated industry, I was just saying this the other day when I heard about it. I said, what's really interesting about that is the fact that this is all kind of made possible because Coinbase decided to be a publicly traded company. I guarantee you this happens every single day, all over the place, in crypto everywhere. There's no insider information. There's just information. What can you learn? Can you get your hands on a piece of information that's valuable? And it's not regulated in the same way the traditional securities are, where there's blackout periods and SEC filings for individual board of governors who bought shares or sold shares. It's just not there. And so this really could only be a crime in a company like Coinbase. I couldn't possibly imagine this happening in another project where we said, oh, someone working for the project knew that they were going to be working on a thing, so they bought some tokens. I get that happens. It must, hundreds of times a day.
Yeah, before I saw the photo of this individual at Coinbase, I was thinking this was Nancy Pelosi's stepson, but that was a far-fetched thing.
The one thing I do like about blockchain, though, is if you really do believe that insiders have some kind of edge or they have knowledge, you're relying on the SEC with securities. If I want to know what kind of trades are happening inside Facebook or Meta, I go to Morningstar, I pull up, the insider section, and I start looking at the board of executives and who's been selling and buying shares of stock. If I have the addresses of the wallets of those same people, I can monitor their activity instantaneously anytime I want with full transparency and no government body needing to get involved to give me that information. So although I think to some degrees you've got weaknesses due to the lack of regulation in crypto for things like this, you also have incredible strengths due to the fact that everything is public and transparent. As soon as I can link a person to a wallet address, I have all the insider information I could possibly want on whether or not people in a project are buying or selling a given token.
That's it right there. Well said, man.
I don't even know what to add to that.
All right, guys. Thanks for visiting us. Like, subscribe, comment. See you next week.
We didn't have many news stories this week, unless I'm missing any, but we can move on to some questions for you guys.
Do you mind us covering the Animoca Brands launching the DAO or a DAO?
No problem.
Thanks. I just wanted to give some thoughts on this and maybe see if you guys had any yourselves. After everything we just finished talking about, I guess the word to sum it all up is standards. Like, are there any standards in the metaverse? What do you guys think? I don't think so. I think certain projects might have some standards, as guilds that we know of have structures to them, and then certain standards in the form of rules or morals and values. But what is Animoca Brands is the leading investor and freaking game developer here in many ways. The trailblazing paths since early days of NFT Web3 gaming. So what do you think? Are there standards in the space? Do we need more of them?
I think the entire move looks like a push towards centralization. Really, you've got a big, powerful company in a decentralized industry saying, hey, here's an idea. It's for the benefit of decentralization. We're going to form an organization to develop standards, which should then be applied to other projects and other metaverses. I don't like it. It sounds like censorship to me. I think if the whole idea of building out a decentralized universe is that it's decentralized, that you shouldn't just have some company starting a DAO that who knows who buys into or controls, and then using that to set standards for the entire industry. I think participants in individual universes and projects should decide the ultimate paths for them, should decide what's fair, what's right, what makes sense as a best practice. If I don't want the SEC telling me what to do, or if I don't want the government telling me what to do, why the heck would I want Animoca to tell me what to do in my gaming universe?
Right.
My thoughts on it are, the first place I would like to start, would like to know, like, what Robbie Young, the CEO of Animoca, like, what are his thoughts on the metaverse? Like, where does he even come from? Like, what does he want to see? Like, when we talk about standards, we can go across the board and what standards look like, but what does that actually mean? And what are you trying to accomplish? I think that if you're trying to say, hey, look, here's what we want. We want to figure out a way so that people that are participating in this space can agree to doing certain things to mitigate people getting ripped off. Okay. That's not a horrible thing to work towards. It's a reasonable goal, because there's going to be a lot of that. And that is one of the things that's making early adoption such a challenge, because it's a risky, it's like being out there in the pioneer days and getting, robbed by highwaymen out on the trail, because it happens everywhere, the Wild West. So if they develop
Oregon Trail for real.
Exactly. Dysentery is everywhere. So if you're going to create some standards, I'd like to at least first understand, like, who are these standards for and what are you trying to accomplish?
Well, I'll just read a little snippet of the article. It says, the announcement of the new blockchain-based organization comes on the heels of the announcement of another Metaverse alliance known as Metaverse Standards Forum. Founding members of that group include Microsoft, Meta, formerly known Facebook, Alibaba, and Sony companies, not known for letting users keep, much less transfer, their data freely between applications. So
the people that just banned NFTs are
I was just about to say.
so to your point, Signal, what you were feeling inherently was spot on. And if there's any affiliation with these companies of old, with what's going on of new in the Web3 space, then it's hard to believe, with all their actions that they've taken in the traditional company with these traditional companies. It's just like centralization is going to be more so leaned on than anything decentralized. Because just to continue on, there's a little snippet here. We are increasingly excited to announce the Open Metaverse Alliance for Web3. Multiple virtual worlds have come together to solve key challenges of the metaverse and preserve the freedom. And emphasize freedom of information known by users. Stay tuned for announcements, on that link. And then a little bit further down, it says the OMA3 aims to take a different approach, which is what Animoca Brands is trying to start here in the Web3 space. And he says, we believe in a metaverse without restraining walls, where individual platforms are interconnected and fully interoperable. And you can go on to the blog post. The group says it is inviting all blockchain-based metaverse companies to join the alliance. So there is a little separation there between what Animoca might have intentions on doing. But if there's going to be any interaction or compromise with these traditional companies, for anything really, there's going to be more of a restraint and limitation put on Web3 gaming and the individuals. Yep.
You lost me at Meta. The moment Meta is a part of any of this, if Meta, I would almost go as far as to say is that they are guilty of crimes against humanity for the things they've done with people's information. And I know this as a study for the past decade or more, and the work that I've done with Facebook and the presentations I've done about, the way they use information and the way that you are the product. So that's the last company that should be a part of any standards for something being developed in Web3. They just shouldn't have any part of it.
And what's stopping those I think I saw Sony, Microsoft, Meta from just monopolizing the DAO and just buying up 50, 60% of all the tokens related with that certain DAO?
So projects joining the alliance with Animoca Brands include Alien Worlds, Dapper Labs, Decentraland, Star Atlas, The Sandbox. In addition to Web3 projects already linked to Animoca, the alliance includes DAO framework developer Wibity, virtual reality and game developer Space, and blockchain gaming world Upland.
Right.
It's not a bug, guys. It's a feature. It's intended to be bought out by big corporations so that they can tell you what's best for decentralized gamers.
See, the thing is that there is some promise here. If the groups and projects that we're talking about in the Web3 gaming space are going to build something that doesn't resemble 90% of what is already in existence with these centralized traditional gaming companies or institutions. So, I'm not putting it completely under the rug as far as the efforts on Animoca's side, trying to form this alliance with just Web3 branded and companies. The article goes on to talk about more of after they mention these traditional company names onto what they're doing. But I'm going to say I'm hopeful, and we just got to keep up to date with what's going on there.
So, and I've given some thought to this. I don't know what the system looks like, but I think that it's something that blockchain can solve for. I think that this is the future of blockchain's use in traditional voting in politics. It's in the way that we can use it for tracking how money is spent, whether it's taxpayers' dollars or charities or just traditional businesses. But I would love to see some mechanism in place, even though we're using it as a DAO now. The problem with traditional DAOs is that a person can have more voting power simply by buying in more into the DAO, unless there becomes a new way that's structured where a person, let's say people that are involved in the DAO that are really good at explaining elements of what is trying to be accomplished. And then people that get that understand it can vote that up. And then that becomes something that has more power within the DAO. Some way for people, A, to be educated on what is taking place so that they even know what is being passed. And two, for more voices to have a say in what they want based on the fact that they're now educated about it. Because it doesn't help anyone to have a vote in something if they don't even understand the concepts of what they're voting for. So that is something that I hope gets fleshed out in the future. And I think that blockchain is going to be the way to do it, but it's just going to be a really creative way for how we institute voting power so that we make sure special interest isn't able to monopolize votes.
Yeah, if a major corporation is able to influence hundreds of millions or billions of people in the course of real elections in countries with propaganda, media content, pushing user activity in different directions, thinking that anything fair is ever going to be built, where they're like, oh, everyone has a vote, but this group is involved in it. I think it's a head fake. I think it's a return to business as usual being rebranded as, oh, this is about freedom and decentralization. Right. Don't just ignore everything that's behind the curtain over here.
So, yeah, let's move on to some questions for you guys. So the first thing I'm going to ask, we might have already covered this, so it doesn't have to be a long answer, but what's your gaming history? What games really impacted you?
I'm going to defer first to Cosmo because I've been talking too much.
No, keep talking. Gaming history. Let's see. I first started out with a PS2 with a game called MX vs. ATV. I played that game probably more than any other game I've ever owned. I had it since I was 4. I played it until I was like 12 or 13. That game got some use. And then when high school started rolling around, I played Rocket League, if that gives you any hint about my age. Played that. That was the biggest impact on me because I played sports. Soccer was my go-to, or football, sorry. And just being a car family, that I grinded all the way up to top 100. I actually joined an org for a brief period of time. And Call of Duty, Star Wars Battlefront, that's probably the next biggest impact on why I like the idea of Star Atlas for when they start releasing actual gameplay or games that we can play. Those are fantastic games that I love.
Awesome. How about you?
Yeah, for me, ever since I can remember, my childhood pretty much began with a Nintendo, playing Duck Hunter and Mario, and the first game that had a huge impact on me, I would say, was Pokemon. Just on the classic Game Boy when I first came across it. I always say that a really good game is like a really good drug. You get a taste of it, and then you're like, oh my God, my life is about to be ruined by this thing that I'm going to get lost in. And Pokemon as a kid was that for me. And I remember the first time, like, just this old brick of a Game Boy and just sitting with it, and it's like, this is absolutely amazing. There's this room for customization, for grinding, for leveling. There's this giant world and universe that I can explore and learn things about, and there's so much to research. It was kind of like a gateway drug for me in just about every other grindy RPG, MMO I ever went on to play. I grew up with like Might and Magic, as well as like Heroes of Might and Magic. I thought those were like awesome games, which nowadays would just be like so stupid almost. Like these like first person, like turn-based, like grindy RPGs. moved on from that to things like World of Warcraft and Knights of the Old Republic. I love universes that I can get lost in. I love games that reward an insane amount of devotion, both in terms of learning the mechanics and the variables, as well as just logging massive amounts of time, getting really good at them. If it's got a really, really high learning curve and really high rewards for people who log insane amounts of time, it's usually my type of game.
Awesome. Yeah, makes sense you ended up here.
Yeah. Go figure, right?
So we have a question from Grist. It's how does Dark plan to deal with bounties on their heads from NPCs to even contracts from other decks?
That'd be pretty cool. I didn't even know that an NPC could put a bounty on my head. Right? But I'm very excited for the first time a non-playable character says, hey, we need to merc signal. But in terms of bounties on our heads from, regular player characters or other members of the universe, I'd expand first on what does a bounty actually mean, depending on what zone of space that you're currently in. If I'm in MRZ and you put a bounty on my head like, hey, blow up signal, I don't know how much that could possibly be worth. Even if you did track me down and find me, it's like, oh no, I've got to go do some repairs. And then I'm just bouncing around again. It's not like you really took me out of commission. I'm more excited to see area-specific bounties or condition-specific bounties that could be executed on-chain. Like you could create a smart contract that says kill signal specifically in high-risk zone, and it will pay this much. I'm really excited to see things like that. But in terms of people putting bounties on my heads or anyone else, they're just called enemies. And you just fight them the way that you fight every other enemy. You could put money on my head. I could put money on yours. You could blow me up. I could blow you up. That's a tale as old as time. It doesn't really require a new style of gameplay to deal with.
Me personally, I think I'd glorify if someone put a bounty on my head. The higher the bounty is, the better I'm doing it, what I like. That's the way that I put it. Yeah. Like Sea of Thieves, I love the open world and I love to go hunt people. So if we're going the mercenary route, I would be more than happy to, assuming the bounty is worth it.
You got 200 Atlas.
Yeah. Unless that person's standing right next to me, I'm probably not going to go for it.
Like you got a skin worth $100,000, but you only had 200 Atlas on you.
Yeah.
You can't take someone's NFT.
How bad do you want them gone? That's the main question.
Yeah. How much of a threat are you to them?
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
We've talked about this a little bit before in the past of like the high risk zone and just trying to theory craft and what that will be like in the beginning. I think it's kind of like when in the very beginning, because no one has an established territory, you're just feeling your way around in space and you don't know what conflicts are going to be like. So you're pretty much just trying to keep to yourselves and find the resources and things out there. But there's going to be some folks, like you guys are saying, there's going to be someone looking for you potentially.
And we'll be looking for them. Don't worry.
Just another day at the office.
Yeah, exactly.
I consider it like the dark zone in like World of Warcraft or Starcraft, classically. I picture high risk zone early on. Like you want to think of a use case for like air bike. That's it right there. I think you're going to have a lot of cheap little throwaway ships running around as like zerglings or scouts, trying to get a look at different areas. And only after you have a couple of little beacons set up, like, okay, this is what this looks like. We've got a little perimeter of throwaway ships out here. Then you'll start seeing larger fleets move into areas. But I would anticipate high risk zone looking a lot like, you're cruising along in your ballad and then you see like an air bike, appear and then disappear. And then
I'm going to destroy that air bike if I see it because I don't know whose it is.
I don't think it's just going to be these death balls just rolling around, taking a chance of, hey, maybe I get totally wiped. And I think there's going to be a lot of intelligence, a lot of scouting, a lot of inter-guild communication and inter-player communication. It's high risk. So people are going to be doing a heck of a lot to attempt to mitigate that risk and protect themselves.
And well, then the question also that comes up, let's say that you are on an air bike or an X4 and something, and you're out there just kind of exploring and someone takes you out. So are you personally destroyed and do you respawn back to a starbase? Or because we know that there's a lot of rescue and there's a lot of evacs and stuff like that, are you just drifting out in space trying to hitch a ride? I mean, like what is that scenario if you are on a ship that gets destroyed out there?
Well, in Scream, I think it's going to be closest to StarCraft. I think it's going to be, I could have troops here, I can have them here, I can have them here, and I can follow one like on the screen and go like, okay, there goes my air bike, it's heading out. Something blows it up, but you're essentially God. You're looking at everything from a top-down view. When you get into the actual like UE5 game, I couldn't begin to imagine, but I imagine it's still going to have a very similar feel. It seems like you can control entire fleets, but then you can zoom in for the in-cockpit experience of flying a ship. But for the most part, as a player in Star Atlas, you're kind of like a ghost or a spirit in terms of things. You can fly into one specific ship and like pilot it around and get that feel. That ship can blow up and you'll zoom out and be looking at your fleet again as an individual controlling all of this. So I at least think at Star Atlas so far, you aren't you. You know, you're not one player that can just get murked and all of a sudden, you know, you are spiritually evaporated from existence. You're just in ghost mode, and you can kind of zoom into your different ships and control them. The only way someone ever truly wipes you out is killing everything that you have in high risk, destroying it, and then you don't buy back in. My take on it.
If it's just an X4 or like a air bike, I may just leave it out there. It could not just be worth me trying to fight whoever blew me up to try to get my one air bike or X4 back. Assuming it's a low lever.
Air bike's $4 right now.
Then it's going to be very strategic on when I'm searching.
I think Sorry, Cosmo.
If I'm going out there alone, I may only do 1 or 2 attempts. If I get blown up on one route, I might try another route, and if I can't get through, I might just stop searching that far out in the high risk zone. I may keep it closer to my home base so I can actually go and rescue my crew members and ship and all that stuff.
But I think throwaway ships are going to be a huge concept. When exploring HRZ, you're going to see things that people can afford to lose before you ever get visuals on the big giant fleet that's rolling through.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm not sure if it was just you need a particular ship to go out of the zone 1. I don't know particularly if a air bike can do that. So I think
we at least know that X4s, right, can fly in space.
Right.
It's right there in their description. Yep. I'd be surprised if an air bike couldn't, if an X4 bike can. But
well, I think it would be able to
find out.
It's all about like ship size, is how like much fuel they can carry. So if you have a large ship, you can go like way further. And if you have like an X4 in the hull, then you could definitely play around with it in the high risk zone because you wouldn't run out of fuel on the way there.
Right.
And also, I doubt that I'm the only person that will have throwaway ships that I just leave in the high risk zone and it explodes. Because if I'm searching, I can also find said throwaway ships and bring it back to recreate my lost fleet. So there's also that aspect of it, where if I can find a destroyed X4 or X5, I can call reinforcements, be like, hey, I'm going on a search. I'm going on a cargo mission. I'm going to get this ship, bring it back, salvage it, repeat.
So I've got the answer to your thing there, Fancy Hat, with the X4s not being able to go out into deep space because of their fuel. So your fleet is going to be a whole gang of X4s and one R8 to refuel them.
Makes sense. I like it.
I'm going to have that R8 hanging way in the back.
Right.
So, I guess, don't mind if I ask a question now, what you related to you guys still. How did you guys, or how was dark matter created? Like, was it a brainstorm session, or was it some one individual who just started recruiting? Like, how did the origin story of Dark Matter?
Cosmo's the actual founder, so I'm going to pass this to him.
So it started out as I knew as soon as I found Star Atlas that I wanted to be a pirate, and I was talking with Easy, MJR Easy, Major Easy, and we had similar thoughts in mind on how we want to play this game. And then I think it was like a week, maybe 2 weeks later, we found Chaldin and Nominal, who has stepped down from the founder role into an advisor role because of he's working on his own projects. And Signal is now our first guild voted Pirate Council member. So there's currently 4 of us. And we wanted to found Dark Matter because we liked the concept of piracy. We were both Ooster at the time, so we still are Ooster. So we decided, okay, Skull and Bones is mud. We'll be the first Ooster pirate guild. And then it pretty much just stemmed from there. And then talking about our goals and morals, we all had a brainstorming session and we wrote out our light paper, which still needs to be updated. And we made the website, and then we started just cranking out things that normal guilds would, like advertisements, and then just recruiting in the guild channels, as well as finding people with like minds in general chat that were talking about piracy, and we're also aligned with Ooster.
Nice. Very organic origin story. I like it.
So another question for you here. Did you draw inspiration from any specific sources when creating Dark?
Specific sources. I know, oh God, I wish Easy was here to explain it. Because he likes the Freedom Fleet, and the Jolly Roger Pirates. I can't do it justice when explaining it, but pretty much we wanted somewhere where everybody is equal in terms of how the guild will run. We want it to be completely decentralized, where I can be voted out of the Pirate Council tomorrow if people thought I hadn't, if we held a no vote of confidence. So I can be gone tomorrow. We could then vote in other people. Anything that is guild related, we always have votes on that involve major guild activities to draw in that equalness of each member.
Yeah, when I hear the Dark Matter Pirate Council, I kind of think of that Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I think it might be like one of the later ones where they're all around the table and arguing all the time. But yeah, it seems like a lot of fun. I love their movies.
Yeah, the 8 Pieces of 7 or something like that they all have. Yeah.
And the fun part about it is, of course, the fact that as the guild keeps growing members, being free and being pirates and living that lifestyle and the decentralized nature of our guild, it takes on a different identity over time. And I guarantee if you were talking to Easy, that exact scene in like Pirates of the Caribbean is like what he pictures Dark Matter as. For me, I picture like the wildlings in like Game of Thrones, and we do not kneel, we have no king. And I think each individual member brings their own interpretation of what it means to truly be a free fleet of, rogue people and extreme equality and what that looks like. And right, there's piracy and then there's pirates. And it's you don't necessarily have to be the classical example of one to engage in the other.
So a question for you with regards to pirating is the monetization model, or if there is one, of the guild, or is it just, hey, we're here to have fun, we're here to loot and pillage, or are you looking at specific models for the way the guild can earn and acquire its own guild assets? For example, one of the things that seems to fall within the purview of pirating is smuggling. And that seems like that's going to be something that's going to be a part of the game, even based on some of the job descriptions provided in the white paper. So is smuggling something on the radar for you guys? Or have you thought through what some of your monetization models might be as a guild?
It's probably better to say that we haven't restricted anything.
Yeah, I go with that.
There's nothing that we said we're not going to do. Beyond that,
For building
Right
guild
now, we're just
assets.
a bunch of gamers having fun. We're coming up with, oh, we could do this, we could do that. We're not pushing financials to our members right now. We're not going, hey, here's how we're going to turn this into a proper corporation, and then we're going to have these earnings and revenues, and we're going to disperse it in this way. All that we know is whatever we're going to do what's best for everybody who's in our group, and it'll be decided by everybody in our group.
And a portion of whatever, let's say we do smuggling, a portion of the profits go to the guild treasury, and then the rest are split equally to whoever participated in the raid or smuggling activity, bounty hunt, whatever, to build up that guild treasury.
We definitely want to incentivize things, though, that don't inherently make money by themselves. So if we have people who want to repair ships or generate art, half the reason we have an idea even like a guild treasury is so as a group, still voting as a whole guild, we can go, oh, well, wouldn't it be cool if we generated, some new badges or some new artwork or some gifts or something like that? Or wouldn't it be cool if we updated the website? Or how do we pay people who are doing ship repairs and who are outlying costs? Even if those things don't inherently generate revenue in game, we want to make sure that they're being taken care of as well. So,
Right, or your own NFT skin for ships. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Everything we've talked about with NFTs so far hasn't been about selling them to our members or other people. It's just been about, gags and fun. Just stuff that, we would generate them, like the idea of like the black spot that we could hand out to our enemies. Or we could have, guild badges or random things like that. But when we talk about those things, and that's kind of half the reason why a treasury makes sense, is when we talk about those things, it's never like, and then we're going to sell them to our members. It's always like, well, okay, how can we do this? And it doesn't cost anybody anything. And so we all just have fun with it. And it always comes back down to some kind of treasury where we all get together and chip into the kitty to do something cool as a group. Which is really no different than if you went out to dinner with your buddies and everyone pays a portion of the tab.
Nice. Little connection issue on my end, but I'm back, baby.
Welcome back.
Thanks. Have we asked the last question for our guest yet?
I just popped this one up. It's fresh.
Sweet.
So what does the future look like for dark matter?
That's a tough question because there's still so much that has to happen before we can narrow something down. I'd say the future holds piracy, a whole lot of guild votes, and just having fun doing guild events as well as participating in other NFT projects with guild members. Because I know we do Supernova Racing League, and they're talking with, I think it's, oh God, I'm blanking on the name. The acronym's ALR. I believe it's All-Star Racing League. Let me check real quick. Alpha Racing League, which is another NFT project that Dark Matter is actively participates in for their tournaments. And that's a huge team building thing that we do, since our members love to race against each other and try to beat each other's times.
Nice.
I'd say the future for the guild is as open-ended as the future for Star Atlas itself. When you say, what's the future of a guild within this universe, I would first ask, well, what's the universe going to look like in the future? And I think a lot of that's going to dictate our activities as we go on.
And we'll adapt to whatever Star Atlas releases or how gameplay looks to the best of our abilities.
All right. Well, yeah. If you guys are interested in piracy in the Ooster faction, definitely check out Dark Swoop. Sorry, guys. MMA, our usual guest on the show, but definitely check out Dark Matter. And you can always reach out to both in Discord or in the official server of Star Atlas, both Signal and Cosmo here, to learn more. But hey, thanks again for being on the show. It's not over yet. You guys are more than welcome to stay and hang with us. We're going to be talking about the monumental event that took place just the other day, the 4 to 6 event. And, we'd love if you have the time to spare, to continue the conversation around it and to elaborate on our thoughts that we have for the show.
Yeah, if you need to drop off, you're welcome to, but you're also welcome to stick around and join in on all that we share. So.
I'm happy to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, I can hang out as well. Thank you again for having us on the show. Really appreciate it.
Sweet,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Yep. It's our
Good
pleasure.
to have you. All right, where do we
So-
dig in?
I guess it's up in the air. We can talk about the drama and the Jerry Springer type action between Wagner and Kieran, or in this case, I'm going to rename him as Karen because he acts sometimes like a Karen. So a little twist on the name there. But either way, we did have a great event that took place. But there's a lot of pros and cons depending on who you might be talking with and who you might be listening to. So do we want to get into a specific topic about the event first?
You already brought it up. Might as well start there.
Let's do it. All right, let's get into some drama first. We have Kagi here, part of the Juice team, his own, I guess, DAC in the space of the Web3 gaming, and we had him and Bryson on the show simultaneously just 2 weeks ago. So if you want, you can check out our YouTube channel, scroll down, and you can see the thumbnail there, and consider watching it to know more about them and what they got going on. But then we have a little thing between Kagi and Jake about Jake was creating videos based off of what Kagi approved as an official Web3 game, or in the early days when Jake first came on the scene, which I was there. I was part of Axie when Jake first came on as a content creator, jumping from his first channel into his second channel, which is now over and exceeds 100K subscribers. So congratulations to him. The grind is real in the space. So you put the work in, you'll get the response back. And so that's good on his part. But the bigger picture here is the Wagner from Star Atlas CEO and the I guess co-founder Karen with Illuvium, and there was some trash talking between the two as far as Karen starting talking about retailers being screwed if you're investing in a part of Star Atlas, buying their NFTs, because within 12 months it would be impossible for a Real Engine 5 game of this stature to actually be playable. And then we have a quote here on the screen saying, Wagner, from my standpoint, we're all building in the Web3 space. It's unfortunate he is so ill-informed on the caliber of our development. Nothing in our content is off the shelf. So there's a lot of misunderstanding on part of Karen, and it seems like with his track record in the space, he in a derogatory fashion talks negatively about other projects that are in the same token building alongside maybe a different genre. But yeah, what did you guys think? So maybe we can scroll a little bit more. What do you think about Karen with Illuvium and the way he might act if you didn't know about his past and how he talks and acts in social media against other projects? Is it him just speaking his mind, or is this a marketing tactic? Is he really that ignorant about what's going on in the space with other projects? I think it's a little bit of all of those things.
What was the comment that, for people that are completely unfamiliar with this, what was the original comment that set this off?
All right, let's. I actually shared
it. It was Kagi's tweet. You have a shitty game with bot assets and you think you're a hot shit. I can't anymore with these devs. To which then Jake from On-Chain Gaming had a response. And then that's when Kieran jumped in down below. So stop shilling Star Atlas. It's going to bring the F out of retail, my guys. And then, of course, that lit things up to where, hey, this could be a great battle. So then Kagi is egging it on. Swagner finally jumps in and replies from his standpoint. He's saying we're building this in the Web3 space together. It's unfortunate he's so ill-informed on the caliber of our development. Our content is off the shelf. Kagi says, I can vouch for this. And then he eggs on. Kieran says, your turn. If you're going to talk shit, you got to reply. And then he says, hey, set up a one-on-one debate. So that kind of brings it home to where now they have this debate that's going down, I guess, on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday this week. But there'll be a debate 12 to 1 p.m. Here we go. Where's the time? Yeah. No time. So
here's the thing, and I mentioned this to you guys before the show, that I have never seen an interview with Kieran. So I don't know if he shows up and he actually can be in a proper debate. I mean, is he going to listen? Is he going to use critical thinking? I don't know enough about the guy. I've obviously seen Michael Wagner in enough interviews, including our own interview with him. So I know how he shows up. My thing is that you don't ever want to find yourself in a situation with a debate where you took the bait because someone goaded you in to doing this in the first place, especially if the person hasn't done their homework. If they haven't done their homework and they're just showing up, they just want to sling shade, and you're going to try and be there defending yourself. So it's never a good scenario to find yourself in that situation. So I'm curious what good it's going to do, but I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, I think Wagner is more sophisticated in different ways than I guess Karen is when it comes to just carrying yourself into space publicly. Maybe Karen doesn't care, more or less, and a part of him in his competitive nature. I have watched a lot of interviews with him speaking. Never have I heard him talk this bad about a project on video. So when Illuvium first came on the scene, it was Axie was the trailblazers of the time. The token launch for Illuvium came to being, and then there was a whole war zone between Karen opening up a can of worms, talking the most shit that you could ever hear anyone ever talk about a Web3 game that exists or that was being developed, and it was towards Axie being the darling child and the leader in the space at the time. And this was just more about over a year ago, so really not that long ago. And then a lot of people were fighting and leaving Axie to join Illuvium because they promised better things with quicker development. And it seemed to have been a tug of war of who's actually bullshitting and who's not. And a lot of people sided with Karen at the time because the sentiment about Axie was weighing as far as it being positive and as far as developments taking, I guess, rolling out in a timely fashion. It wasn't really happening. So a lot of people jumped ship, but a lot did stay. And then there was a lot of fighting. So on Illuvium side, just to fast forward a little bit, they created a staking reward pool for AXS token. And at the time, AXS was being trash talked about also with, it's not really governance because you're not doing anything with the governance token. And fast forward to today, we all agree on that, where these tokens, you don't really have power to do anything with them anyways. So yeah, credit to Karen saying certain things back then, but in a different approach, I guess, than what we commonly are used to here. So then we have, Star Atlas comes on the scene and is being promoted, and everyone's joining up on it. And it seems like Karen is taking and riding the coattails of the events or major releases of projects where there's a run up in popularity and enthusiasm. It could be marketing tactic, but there was a video that we probably shared a while back, and it was like an edited clip of a movie basically throwing shade on Star Atlas. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. It was like a week's worth of conversation, or maybe a couple of days, and it had the Illuvium logo, and it was a movie scene. I don't know what the movie was. It was an old school one, and it was just like basically throwing shade on the key-framed Star Atlas logo, basically saying that they were a better project in a certain way. And then also ultimately the mascot of the Illuvium project has the name Atlas. So I don't know if there was intention there, calling one of the alluvials Atlas when Star Atlas was in their growth phase of popularity on the Solana chain. But if you've been following up on the screen, there's a lot of back and forth between Karen and Wagner. I don't know if we're gonna read this and we could get to
it gets a bit spicy here if we can read it. So let me refresh your memory of the series of events from yesterday, since it appears to be clouded. I'm honored that Star Atlas lives rent-free in your head all day. And they're kind of like declaring war on each other in a way, like it's literally said right here. And Wagner again responds, claims he is focused on building and supporting Web3, spends most of his time talking shit about projects he's threatened by. Cool approach.
See, and we could get into the details of the projects, not the length of time until a game is playable and developed, full out, but Karen's network and the tokens, there was an exploit there was a hack, right? And as far as what you're gonna be able to play, sure, it'll come out sooner. If we're gonna go down the list of the ABCs, or the bullet points of each project, I wouldn't say you'd come out more or less equal, because Karen and their team with Illuvium, you can say that it's gonna be a somewhat simple game, from my opinion, and Star Atlas is a more complex, I guess, economy of a game, which might take more time on that end. But yeah, do we want to get into specific details for what we think Illuvium is better for and Star Atlas is not, or just kind of not pay the drama too much attention, but ultimately see what the interview or the debate is going to be? I hope it's educational and more of lighthearted fun to help people understand what Web3, blockchain technology, and all this is, specifically these projects. And hopefully it's not a lot of name calling as we see on Twitter.
Yeah, I would start with the debates on my birthday. So I really appreciate them scheduling it that way. That's an incredible present for me. I like it. Whether or not you like Kieran or Karen or whoever the guy is, or Alluvium or any of that, I really do like seeing Wagner fired up. I really do like the idea of the Star Atlas team starting to headbutt a little bit against some of their detractors. There's something to be said for taking the high road and just going, hey, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to put blinders on and pretend you don't exist. I like seeing the team fired up. I like seeing them engage with detractors. At some point, you're going to have to set the narrative. And if you let everybody in the world who says you're this and you're that and you're no good, if they're the only people talking in the room and you're just sitting in a corner while they talk shit on you, eventually you've earned what they say about you. I like it. I think a good amount of FUD is healthy. I think anytime you reach a project where absolutely everyone just goes, oh no, everything's perfect, it's going to be great forever, that doesn't create much of a community where the devs feel any kind of pressure, where the team feels any kind of pressure, where the founder feels any kind of pressure. I kind of like the idea. This Alluvium, clown Joker guy, picking a fight with Mike Wagner. I like it. I think it puts a fire under the team. It draws us more into the public eye. If Star Atlas feels it has a need to defend itself, I'd like to see it defend itself. That's my thing. I think pressure's good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Just too that we talking about it on our show feeds the fire of whatever the intentions are of Karen. If whether it's marketing, we can go down the rabbit hole and speculate. We don't ultimately know and might not ever find out, no matter how much we watch him on an interview. There's people who act certain ways on camera and versus not in real life or on social media. So I'd say more so, you'd know and you'd be able to discern if a project and its founders, or if Karen is an actual founder here, how they come across with educating the public on what their game is, how you can earn the white paper, like really full on through, deliver the message of your game in a concise way that's understandable and digestible to traditional gamers. Because ultimately, we're just we're just circle jerking each other in the Web3 space. We need to onboard more people. So if Kagi is going to do this right, this would be a great opportunity. If Karen was already thinking this, to get more eyes on Alluvium, but then in turn also get more eyes on Star Atlas. So all through the lens of education. This is where I'm leaning towards. So if it's done in that way and it's cordial, then I think it's a win-win for everyone. At the end of the day, right?
So this is Athia Station, episode 4. We have a clip lined up of a question to Michael Wagner when he came on regarding this whole situation. If you guys want to pause and speak about it, then just give me a heads up. Oh, I think you
no audio.
Muted. Yeah.
Still can't hear you. It's a little low.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Sure.
Well, a conversation did happen.
Yes, that is true. Something Athia did have right after their 1-year anniversary. Congrats to them. They scheduled Wagner for their show, and it was a healthy, productive conversation. So shout out to Athia, doing great things for the space.
As we've already kind of alluded to, I hope that the event is more along the lines of, hey, we're in the Web3 space. Here's what we're trying to do for the community. Here's what we're trying to do for the industry as a whole. Here's what the expectations are, and here's how we plan to each meet them as companies. That sounds productive rather than, my company's cooler than your company. So hopefully there's a lot more of that going on, because the truth is that it's not easy space to develop in. And I got to say that based on launches and things like that, Illuvium's kind of one of the darling childs of the industry. I've said this numerous times because the way that they have mapped out things, their tokenomics, the way that they've done their launches so far, the way that they've grown their community, the way they communicate with their community has been, in my book, top notch. I think Star Atlas has done a whole lot of the same as well, but I've also had some critiques of Star Atlas. I've got one of them today coming up with regards to the way that they're putting their referral program together. So there's things to be learned here for sure, and none of these projects are perfect. So I think there's value in holding each other accountable, just as long as it's not just kind of to be at our expense just because it's a publicity stunt. So hopefully there's something productive that comes of it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an utter slugfest. I don't think this guy's coming into this thing going, hey, I just want to have a really productive conversation about our two projects.
Right.
This guy's going to be a jerk, and he's going to come in throwing fire and mud. And that's what
they've been that way. They've been that way since the beginning. Like even this time last year, the memes that they were throwing out, just to comparing them to other projects, and just some of them were hilarious for sure. But just the fact that they were taking that approach to doing that was they're throwing darts at people for sure.
Yeah, that would be my only thing that I'd say to Wagner. If he was listening, it's keep your hands up. When you come out of that corner, be ready.
Watch out for those haymakers.
Yeah, regardless of what they try to communicate, this guy has shown you everything that he's going to try to do to you in a public venue. Be ready for him. He
thinks he's ready. He said one of his comments in Foundation Room was he considers himself the Zen master. So I guess we're going to see.
We're going to see something.
Yeah, I think it was one of those you had to have been there, but in the first iterations of Karen really portraying who he is in his Discord, where there was a lot of snapshots taken and shared within the Axie community at the time, it was just 10 times worse than this. Like everyone's surprised or maybe taken back about what he's just said in a sentence or two on Twitter. Like you should have seen the crap that he was going off on about Axie and other projects. And fast forward, you could say that he was right and good on Illuvium for doing such a thing, because there was no competition at the time either, right? So there's a lot to weigh here with just saying, yeah, he's a piece of shit, and then also saying that, that he is intentionally a good-hearted person and just trying to better the space. Like it's a really cut and dry thing. But personally, he's way more extreme than I guess if this is your first experience with him. From my just time in the space and just being attentive to the back and forth of it all with Illuvium and other projects. So that's the thing. The track record is there. Like Axie, Star Atlas, none of these projects have done anything like this. They stay away from that and come from a more productive, constructive, building and adoption into Web3 type of mentality. A lot of what Karen done across different projects at different times have just been negative stuff. So although the brothers and whoever else is building out the economics of the project and how it's all going to function, kudos to them. That's where the attention should be, right? Not on, what's going back and forth. But I think we've exhausted our stay here with this topic. I think we should definitely move on to what the conversation on the 4 to 6 event that took place just with all 4 releases, product releases. So
yeah,
if there's
I
anything
agree.
else.
A lot of the stuff we mentioned here was in Wagner's answer. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Knock his block off, Mike.
So yeah, let's talk a bit about 4 to 6. What do you guys want to start with? The marketplace, the referral? There's plenty of things we can go into. There's also the 4 to 6 showroom gameplay.
That's true.
Let's talk about one of the greatest accomplishments of 4 to 6. It was an actual hard date on an event when something happened.
Sure, we shouldn't overlook that.
7/21, and then they did.
Right. So yeah, kudos to keeping up with timeframes and release dates. So we're thankful for that for sure in this space, in this Web3 space. But hey, let's talk about Scream and how maybe it was pretty anticipated as a okay. So first of all, the hype around Scream, and I took some notes here. just for thoughts on it. But more or less, Scream is something that we were anticipating as a community, and there was not even one word,
Not a mention.
not a mention at all, not even the word. So that was pretty unfortunate. And we'll go back and forth of pros and cons here, or positives, negatives. But that was something that stood out to me because a lot of people are anticipating the next iteration of earning, which is through Scream, as they're going to sunset the staking rewards with Score. And it would have just been great to see some type of information, at least something, because this is
even development progress, just something that says, hey, we're moving further down the path, rather than just finishing up and saying, well, we may have something else to share in another 4 to 6, which means we don't know when the next update is going to be on the radar. And so just leave everyone hanging with Scream. Yeah, that was very disappointing to me personally, for sure.
Yeah.
And just as me, I had zero perception that anything about Scream was going to be talked about. So I guess that's just an example of like where your expectations are for things. Before that, we had been told that Showroom was going to be fully released in October. So we got an update in Copa just a couple of weeks ago, where they went through Scream and what they had at that time. And it wasn't much. And they pretty much just got the concept locked down of what they're really trying to do. They're in building mode. Off of what I saw 6 weeks ago for what they're doing with Scream, I did not expect that 6 weeks later, it's here. Look at this big reveal in Scream.
But even if not the big reveal,
one Showroom video that looked really good.
But even if not a big reveal, but at least maybe, hey, here's what we've done since the last time we showed you something with Copa.
Right.
Even just any kind of an update.
And if not that, mentioning it for those who might have been attending this event who were brand new, not knowing what's to come after this, if this is their first foot in the door. Exactly. So are we going to be able to play with anything of the NFTs that we purchased? And I say this because there was a Twitter space the next day with the community and Ash and Santi and what's his name? Luciano, I think the one who had the new marketplace. So correct me if I'm butchering his name. But they were talking about somebody in the community came up, and I met this individual, and I invited him to come on the show. But I met him. He's 21 or 29. But I met him in the first NFT NYC meet that we went to 2 years ago, and since then he's grown his own following. But he asked the question. He's like, "Hey, what's going on? Even though this is a major event, what's going on now? What's next for these NFTs and the utilization of them, other than just a quote unquote glorified staking mechanism like almost every other project has?" And then it was shared, right? And to him in the Twitter space where there's much less people. So I'm always thinking, like, if you're going to be exposed to a bunch of people for a major event that's been hyped all this time, just the introduction of top-down playable Stellaris, V3, type version is going to be playable with NFTs, including, and then, more to come on the next Copa, right? Something like that. I don't know, but it would have been great because now that was going to help with the onboarding if this is the ultimate purpose here of doing these things.
That's similar to my thoughts on it. So the fact that if you're looking to use these events as a way to introduce new people to what you're doing, you can't just treat it as if, hey, it's a round circle of the community and here's what we just released. You kind of want to share some of what the overall progress is so that people that are just taking part can say, okay, this is where the project's at. So I believe that there always should be a piece of that, even if it's 15, 20 minutes. Here's where we are now.
For sure.
This is why I think we need to get better at reutilizing town hall content. It just started happening recently where Star Atlas TV it started opening up a Spotify account and depositing town halls after they happen. It's just this big circular process, I feel, in the community. If a new person comes in and then they're trying to learn everything that took everybody else, several weeks or months to accumulate, you're right. It's not very easy if you came in as a new person to Star Atlas today to instantly just go, oh, okay, here are the current projects, here are the iterations, here's where different things are happening, here's the timeline as we see it for this phase, this phase, this phase, here's the order they're going to happen in, here's what they look like. Just about anybody who's been active in the project, I mean, I could rattle on and on about those things for hours, right? but a new person walking in for the first time might not have a very easy ramp to getting a concept of where they're at in the continuum of things, what's coming next, what that's going to look like, what's been talked about it before in the past. I guess the only issue you have if you tried to make something like that, like, hey, here's a YouTube video of the Star Atlas timeline right now and everything that we're anticipating and how it's all going to work, is just like the town hall frequency. It could change 3 weeks from now. So 2 months later, you'd be getting new people entering the community going, hey, I'm waiting for the update on this thing. And they're like, oh, we moved in a completely different direction. That's been moved to here. This is happening over there. It's
which is all the more reason then your behavior should be go to the most recent event, and that's where you're going to have the most recent information about where things are.
right.
Yeah, I understand that the event was not anything like related to Scream, but it's in the ecosystem of Star Atlas. It is what we will eventually have first as far as playing the game with our assets. So even if, like Justin, we're all talking about just bullet points of what is to come, although the main event is this. Now let's get back into it. Like I think it just goes such a long way, because that's my personal approach when introducing this type of conversation with playing after investing with assets into this game and others, to people who are, depending on their specific likes of genre. It's just like, hey, when can I play? Like, people want to play games. They don't want to invest in with money they might have, or they might not have, as new people coming into the space who never benefited off the appreciation of assets in Web3, right? Like, you don't know everyone's financial situation, but as far as just the basics, I think it just goes a long way. So that was my take on Scream, and or being not mentioned at the event. But let's we can talk about another part of the event.
Yeah, and all I would add to that is, as we were saying earlier, with iterative processes, something's being created right in front of you. Back when I heard there was something called Project Titan being built by Activision Blizzard, for years and years, it was going to be galactic somehow. It might be some kind of MMO, it might be a blend of this and that. That went on for years before I ever heard the name Destiny, and that was coming out and that was going to be a thing. It's tough. It would have seemed pretty strange for me to start writing Activision Blizzard back then, or kind of, poking them and going, hey, when Project Titan, when am I going to get to play this game? And they're like, well, we're still building it. We don't even know what this thing's going to look like by the time that we're done it. I do think if you're a traditional gamer, your expectations of what this process should look like are spoiled by studios that have worked for years and years before they ever tapped you on the shoulder to say something exists. You didn't even know it was going on. There were 1,000 people working on this project. You didn't even know it existed. And then one day they're like, hey, just so you know, this is going to be out next year, and here's a trailer for it. I think we're spoiled. I think the whole when game thing, it may seem like, hey, it's been a year, when game. But
right.
We don't do that to studios that were developing in private for 5 years before we ever heard of the title.
But you also didn't invest thousands of dollars into those studios, so therefore you have a different relationship with them, for sure.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You become an investor. You're not just a gamer anymore. It's a new genre. It's a new setup. The game is utilizing the funds from your asset sales to build the game. So you're going to have the conversations early on that investors would have with the same project, rather than the luxury of feeling like you can come along there and just go, oh, when game, it's been a year. Like, no.
Yeah.
You're not the gamer right now. For better or worse, you're the VC. You're the guy sitting on the back and going like, okay, well, what progress do we have on Project Scream? All right, how are we tracking on Showroom? How's this looking?
Yeah.
And you're having those conversations. It's not going to be like, you're going to walk into Electronics Boutique one day and somebody surprises you and there's a fully playable game.
Yeah. And for the record, I'm not here demanding, we want game next week, and mention it every time because that's the best marketing strategy. Like, what do I know? That's not my background. I can only, as the individual I am, being a conscious observer, but also partaking in these shows, investing my money and time, and seeing how things come across as that. So to Ronald's point, get to harp on this particular topic too much for too long here, there's a way to convey a point or information that doesn't confuse people. We cannot speak for everyone, and if some people get confused, so be it. But I, just as you and everyone else, love the project, are invested, and want to help along people for onboarding purposes, right? To help grow the ecosystem. So that's where I come from with saying all this, is that there's a way to always inch forward with helping people understand what's to come, with just a mention of, hey, you'll be able to play with your assets in this when 4 to 6 weeks. Destroy the 4 to 6 week type of meme. I don't mind at this point, but no one should expect that you'll be getting all of these things in 4 to 6 weeks. Like who like I don't know who we're dealing with, if those are the people that are in the community or thinking that's what's going to happen. Like Karen. Like, does Karen really think we're going to develop a Real Engine 5 game? Like, who in their right mind, in any type of background? And again, I'm not talking absolutes, but I don't come across these individuals. I know I'm not one of them. I know it's a process, right? So unless you were born yesterday, I think that there's just some different ways of delivering some information that'll just go longer ways than not. But yeah, I respect I respect it. It's a grind, and it's hard to do a lot of things at once, and that's why I guess you have to. And I think that's why these brews and the Twitter Spaces exist, right? To give people in the community who are chiming in those tidbits of like, hey, yeah, we will have a top-down Stellaris like playable game with assets, and then people be, oh, thanks for sharing that, Ash, thanks for sharing that, Santi. But I was just taking a step back. We have a lot of people all in one place, and it's just like, those are good opportunities to throw out some information along those lines for Scream specifically. But I guess we can just hop on to another topic of the event. You want to talk about the DAO? That's a huge milestone. Something that was anticipated for a long time, and I'm happy to see it out. But with that, there's some conversation we could have. So, any opinions on the DAO?
I think there's a lot of unknowns still, because we don't really know. There's two aspects to it. So you have voting power, and that voting power is scaled up based on how long you lock. But here's what I don't know. I don't know why I want to lock for how long, because I don't know what the rewards emissions are, for one, and I don't know what the benefits will be. 5 years is a long time in this space. The industry may even have a new name by then. We just don't even know of now. That's the speed at which this industry is changing. So 5 years is a really long commitment to a project where you're putting a lot of trust. So I want to understand more things about the company as a whole. For example, the DAO is going to be at some point dictating development moves and things like that from a high level. I would also hope that the DAO, or at least there be communication with the people that are involved with the DAO, to understand what Star Atlas's goals are and approach is going to be to marketing. Because right now, much of that is a mystery beyond this program that we're about to talk about, which was just announced, the referral program, which I've got lots of thoughts about that. But that's the extent of marketing that I'm understanding right now, which is essentially pushing the marketing back onto us. And we'll get to that. But that's my initial thoughts on the DAO. There's not enough information yet for me to really say what I'm going to even do with it.
Right. And a lot of how it's structured is for the long-term minded or time horizoned individuals. So for us as a community, and it was reflected, I guess, in the token price for whatever that's worth. There's a lot of things that could take place for why market prices go up and down. And the focus of this is not the price of Polis, but I'm sure, like many others, I'm not sure, can't talk in absolutes, we're checking out the price and even bought some in anticipation of the DAO being released. And for what it's worth, the appeal here, I think, is more for investors and people who have been in the space longer, who might have a different mindset and a different, balance sheet when it comes to investing in NFTs. And it goes hand in hand with the referral code, like Jess was talking about, because it's incentivizing not the players for the details we'll get into as far as percentages and what you'd have to do as far as how many people use your referral code to then get rewarded and how much that would be. We have a little breakdown thanks to, Fancy had here, putting in the work. So it could be more of a visual instead of us just talking about it. But I think that for what it's worth, everyone in the community already had their Polis, already had their ships, and we've just been in this kind of purgatory of just being who we are and excited and just the most dedicated to the cause. And that's why earlier I mentioned with Scream on the horizons, it's worth mentioning it almost at any point, because now it's something that's going to be taking us to another level, and I'm sure the team obviously is aware of that. But the incentives for the existing community, it's not that much. I'm appreciative of the hard work and the amount of manpower and brain energy that went into formulating and creating all of this for us. But it goes to show that, like for example, Axie Infinity, there's a 1% market fee if someone uses your referral code, and there's a leaderboard, right? All these nice gamified things. But it's not just for new assets that are produced by the team. It's for any interactions, any transactions, sales, or purchases of any items goes towards that person, and it's 1% of the 4.25% total that goes back to the treasury of the Axie Infinity's wallets, I guess if you want to call it that, or vault. So I guess I guess we can hop into the if there's no other thoughts on the voting power, right? And that's another thing. If we're getting voting power for locking up our tokens, it's just still too early to know. Like Jess was saying, the staking rewards are weighted more for those. Like I said, I'm just going over my notes here for longer term people who are trying to be in the project, and it feels like there's with DAOs specifically and governance tokens and locking them up, it's more of like it was a commitment play. Like, how committed are the existing guilds and its members? Because other than that, we're trying to appeal to bigger investments or investors and people outside. So how is anyone outside seeing the incentives for jumping in if you don't have money or haven't been in the space? That would be a question I have. You're muted, Jess.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else. Did you have any other thoughts? What were your thoughts on the DAO signal? Did you?
Sure. All we were promised was Polis staking. That's what was delivered. Rewards will kick off in like a week. In terms of setting expectations, I thought they did a really good job. In terms of how voting power is structured, that makes enough sense to me. If I wanted someone to be influencing the way that the project unfolds, I'd much rather have the voice of people that aren't going anywhere anytime soon and are really committed, having more power, than people who just spike Polis one day and just show up for 2 weeks for a critical vote. I like feeling like true core community members are going to be the people that are making decisions here, and people that aren't just going to rug out of the project on a random token pop. I'm excited about it. I think, like everything else, like Showroom, DAO's iterative. They came out, they gave you Polis staking. That's what they said they were going to do. They did it. Next, let's see what happens with the treasury. Let's see what happens with proposals.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with the board. I'm really excited at the fact that's already been communicated that like people go like, oh, who's going to be this executive board on the DAO? How's that going to work? And within 2 seconds of having that conversation, Michael and several others made clear, like, you could fire those people. Like, you could vote the DAO and hire different people to that board. You could fire people. I think the DAO and the political game of Star Atlas is going to be just as big as Scream, and just as much as you wouldn't expect any other version of the game to just be unveiled 100% complete today. I'm excited that we have staking. I'm excited that long-term investors in the project will have louder voices, and I'm really excited to see what comes next. As far as Polis prices and things like that, I frankly think that, if you're at these levels, saying, oh, well, it went to 64 and then it went to 55. And yet all of this is, for what this project could be, all of this is just such an insane, ridiculous discount to anything else you could ever have a say in. And yeah, you might say it's not all fully formed yet, but guess what? By the time it's fully formed, your voice in this project is going to be a lot more expensive to acquire. So that's who we are. We're early adopters. We're the guys sitting in the soup while this all gets built.
Yeah, go ahead, Jess, if you want to.
I was just going to say that I think that, yes, first of all, the DAO being released, great. It's been promised for a while. But the thing that still hangs for me is I still don't know what the DAO is going to, how the DAO is going to be used. Right now, there's 2 million worth of Atlas sitting in the DAO. When do the first votes come into play? What does the voting power actually mean at what point? Is that still a year out before you can use that voting power? How does that voting power translate into also, how do the emissions, what are the reward system? Are you able to claim that while your Polis is staked? So there's just a bunch of things that are open-ended questions for me that are things that I would like to have a better understanding of before I'm simply ready to say, yes, lock up my investment for 5 years.
Absolutely.
Right.
I would only add that that's true of absolutely everything in the project. If I asked for you to explain to me how Atlas staking was going to work in the market, nobody would be able to explain it. If I could say what kind of features are going to be implemented into Showroom, which should release, sometime inside the next month, nobody could tell me what you're going to be able to do in there. So all is stuff is coming. There's a team building things, but I agree. You better be a heck of a zealot if you're going to run out there and stake for 5 years and just say, I'm in, put me in here. Or maybe another way of saying it is, if you're going to have that kind of extreme devotion to the project, you should be doing it with a smaller amount that you're very comfortable with, that gives you a voice in the DAO and the ability to participate. And you can reserve judgment like everything else in the project.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, man. And I think with the DAO and voting, when it comes to maybe in the event there's something that's passed on by the community within a year of when you're able to vote on proposals, and then over time it changes. Or I'm just thinking long term with the length of time for lockup. What if there's something that over time is detrimental in a specific way that can't be reverted because of this how it's all organized and structured? And then what would need to happen for those ill effects of whatever that vote is? And yeah, this is all speculation, but these are all in the realm of possibilities when you have these lengths of time with decisions being made by communities that are thinking and acting emotionally or not in a certain way now for multiple different reasons. It could be for their own bags. It could be for the project, for adoption, for keeping the developers on board or not, or firing them. But if any one of these actions are going to take place, and then there's something that doesn't sit well over time, and now it's hurting us as a community based off of what we agreed to and voted on, what does it look like to turn that Titanic of a ship to then, and then how long would it take to fix any of that? So we see votings going on all over the place if you've been in the space across different DAOs, and some projects are just like, we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have had that type of structure or these details that gave people the ability to do X or Y. I can name one, like even DFK, like DeFi Kingdoms. The founder at one point was like, "Hey, I'll leave it up to the community to vote me out if they don't want me here anymore." And it's just like, dude, you're the one leading with the torch in your hand, and you're just gonna give, like, what does that portray? So that's just an example to all, But again, I'm curious to see how it all plays out as far as what we're able to vote on, and then why we vote on it in the first place, and then what the effects of that can be in the long term, and how we can fix that if it is something that's pretty negative and that impacts us as a community and the project overall in a negative light.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. Just the two things I would note about that setup and process is, one, a lot of what you're describing is something that was foreseen by Automata and Wagner themselves, which is why they have the large position that they do inside the DAO. They're acknowledging this is an incredibly powerful political body that could shift the entire way that the project goes on to be built or to operate, the mechanics of the game and the universe. And they have veto power. If they think you're about to break the universe or the game, like nothing's been built yet, nothing's been released, and then the DAO just one day randomly fired Automata, which would like just blow up the universe, it wouldn't exist anymore. There's veto power there. That being said, they have every intention of selling off their Polis as it unlocks over time. So they start losing some of the proportion of that veto. In the meantime, the intermediate between points A and B, it's been discussed that Automata, whether or not they have veto power for something that might break the universe, they also don't intend on actively participating in debates and discussions for proposals. So they're going to step back, let the community say, hey, here's what we'd like to do, debate back and forth with each other, come up with drafts, proposals, go to full votes. And all Automata is going to do is sit there and watch it happen, unless they think that we're about to do something that lights the house on fire. So players day one, when we have voting and proposals, will have the power to come up with their own ideas, draft them, debate them back and forth, vote them, and not have to worry about, Automata being big brother in the picture. At least philosophically, how it's been communicated by Wagner very recently. But we do have that little bit of safeguard of the masses potentially destroying the project in some awful vote.
I'd say, so not to interrupt you, but even though I am sorry,
no,
it's actually not that small of a safeguard. It is the most centralized type of method, and that's why there might be a bigger discussion to have here with DAOs and the purpose of them. The idea is great, but no project in development is going to give the control over to the masses.
Nor should
at this. I agree, right? So like Axie Infinity does the same thing. There's a process to take off the training wheels for the public after they come around this huge learning curve. All right, so there's multiple variables here for when we're going to actually have control in a way that's decentralized for the purposes of the DAO's existence. All right, so I just wanted to make that, and then and especially with what happened with Merit Circle and YGG around DAOs specifically, where there was an agreement, and then now because the token price went up, they're making 10 million versus the 500,000, and now based off of a DAO vote, YGG is shafted and has to, just settle with 1.5 million, right? So there's a lot that a DAO entails, and I'm just excited to be on the journey and commend the team, obviously, for doing any of this in the first place, because no one has to do anything. But we are so far down the rabbit hole, although it's very early already. And I'm just glad that we're all here doing it together, because these types of conversations and constructive criticisms and questions just need to take place. Because the longer you're here, the more you just go through different projects that experience similar things. And then you're just like, dude, the solution, although I'm not the most professional in, I guess, the tech side of it, to do it myself with smart contracts or whatnot, depending on the topic, is just like, man, there's a pattern here. And this is another reason why big projects in the traditional world might be backing out. Again, speculation across the board, not able to put our finger on any reason why specifically, but over time you gain that experience, and I think we're going through similar phases that other projects have, I just hope with conversation and more experience, but amongst all of us sharing it with the team, whether it be Santi, Wagner himself, or whoever needs to hear it. It'll go a long way and benefit us all, and ultimately the project to sustain and last the test of time. You're on mute, Jess.
I've done that a few times tonight. So with that, we also have another thing that was a part of the release of 426, and that is the referral program called Starpath. And so this one was interesting to me because, I've been looking at, because my background's in marketing, I've been looking at Star Atlas through that. And so I look at it as, right now, the DAO is being filled with emissions from the 4Rs from ship sales. There's been, 36 or something ships that have been sold? What is the total number of ships types that have been sold so far? But regardless of what that number is, it's in the 30. Yeah. So it's right. And it's been about 200 million in ship sales. There's going to be 146 for the long haul that they produce. So again, this goes towards the amount that's a capital raise for Star Atlas. So within that, you have the ships that have been sold. More ships are being shared with the community, but the buying pressure is on the community right now, and which also lowers the value of the existing ships as you flood the market with more ships. So I've always been of the opinion that Star Atlas should be marketing to grow the community, to take some of that buying pressure off the existing community as you continue to release more of these ships into the ecosystem. And that's going to continue happening for some time. So I've kind of been standing back and looking to say, okay, well, what is Star Atlas doing from a marketing perspective? Is the Discord growing? Are they doing any paid ads? Do they have any campaigns anywhere? And it looks, based on what this referral program is that the weight is being put back on the community to say, you guys go out and market it. And that could be a viable method for sure, except for this program's poo-poo. I don't know any other way to say it. It is really, really freaking bad. And I've created a lot of affiliate programs over the past couple decades, and I've done a lot of my own affiliate marketing. So let's just go from the top down, and hopefully they can make adjustments. But this also gets back to the conversation we're having about engaging your community. And even if it's not DAO, round up, get a round table of the guilds and say, here, guilds, here's what we're thinking about before you release this program and we tell you it's poo. Okay? Get our feedback on it beforehand. So the program itself, simple sign-up process. They want you to sign up, get your referral link, and you share it through your blogs, through social media, wherever you're going to send this. And then when someone purchases new ships directly from Star Atlas using a new wallet address and deploying those ships into Score for at least 7 days, you're going to get prosperity mark rewards. So that's kind of the model. You're going to get these bonus points, and they're calling them prosperity marks. So what exactly do these rewards do? First of all, they're going to allow you to recruit new space pioneers and receive rewards and recognitions at a faction level and individual level. So the first thing is, you as an individual, what do you get? You get rewards based on their in-game activity, which is mostly them buying ships. If we take a look, here's what you can get. Let's say you accrue 100 prosperity marks. You can get yourself an extra small ship. So that's the Fimbul, that's the X4, it's the Racer, it's this extra small ships. Those are the ones that are out there. Now, with those, if we were to use the example of the Fimbul air bike, there's a bunch of Fimbuls. The Fimbul's $4 right now. If I was to go and refer some people, here's what I could expect to get. I could refer all of these here because it's going to take all those. If I actually went and used my affiliate links and I sold all of those, I would literally have to sell 222 of them to be eligible to earn one small air bike for myself. That's a lot. Most people aren't going to do that. And as you can see here, your 2 marks, you get 2 marks for every $20 in a sale that you make. So if you sell a ship, or if you refer someone who buys a ship, then puts it in Score for 7 days, you're eligible to get 2 marks. And again, you need to do that 50 times, the equivalent, to where you now have the ability to get 1 extra small ship. Extra small. Challenge with that is, as I mentioned, this is what that looks like. I would have to have referred 222 air bikes to reach that current market value right now of $1,000, just because things are way underpriced. And then I'm eligible for 1 extra small ship, which I could buy now for under $10. Okay.
And this is for new wallets created and people who haven't purchased previously, or the existing community of buyers and sellers.
Yeah. If you want a comparison model, pays between 3% and 12%. This is for physical goods, okay? Where there's an actual shipping cost, there's the actual product development cost, there's the storage and handling of all of that. We're talking about a digital product. In the digital world, commissions run anywhere from, on the low end, 10%, which is where Star Atlas should be starting instead of the 2% that they're starting at, 2.5%, all the way up to 50%. That's what digital product commissions are. And how do companies figure this out? Well, they take a look, first of all, at what is their cost of their own good. In a digital product, the cost is not very much. And then they also look at what is the lifetime value of that customer. And the only way that Star Atlas can do that now is to go and look at all the wallets that made a purchase over the past, since the GAL first started, and how many actual ships have been sold. And they're going to figure out what the value is. Then they need to go out and do their own marketing to figure out what it costs to acquire a new customer. And that's going to give you a baseline for what your marketing cost is. So if you're going to put the heavy lifting on your community and us, the guilds, to do your marketing for you, then you need to pay us what you'd be paying for your own marketing. That's just the way affiliate marketing works. So that right there is a big miss on Star Atlas's part. Should have its baseline, which before you'd even have my attention, before Rome even wants to even step in and look at using this program, you need to at least be at 10%. There's no reason for you not to be. And you're not going to get anyone excited about doing this. And can you imagine how many people for one single extra small ship? So who is this program for? Just so that at scale, you hope that you get enough tweets and enough social media posts out there that Star Atlas grows through ships. It's not fair to the community. This was not well thought out. Just sorry. And especially I'm comparing this to many, many affiliate programs out there that I've been a part of. So that's my take on it. And this was the thing that was most disappointing because I was really looking forward to this. I was really looking forward to saying, hey, if you're going to put the heavy lifting on the community to do the marketing for Star Atlas, then give us something that's worth our while to do it. So that's my 2 cents on it.
2 cents is about what you would get after you sold your 100 airplanes.
It's about right.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to this part of 4 to 6 just because I didn't really care about it. But that being said, now that you're going to, this thing's terrible. You know what?
It is.
It's and I get it when you talk about cost of goods sold. So if I get you right, you're saying you don't believe it costs $10 million to create a ballad. You can sell 360 times to the community. Yeah, it's when you say cost of digital goods. The reason why you have such high commissions in digital goods is because you have such high margins.
Exactly.
The margin on an NFT has got to be every bit of 90%. It's got to be massive.
And this could have been avoided. We actually, Rome even had a conversation with a representative of Star Atlas, I want to name names, last year, where they were exploring an affiliate program then, and we gave feedback on it. I even told them I've got background in this, but why did they not come to us before releasing this so we could have saved them the trouble of saying this is not good? So that's where us engage us.
Right. And us as in the whole community and putting it up for, like Jess was saying earlier, a roundabout, reaching out, starting a forum on a website where this could be an open forum, not where you do a phone call to or phone tag with different leaders and guilds in the space. Because although we are the community, we can't speak for all of our people in the guild, and we are still individuals, even though we're a part of a guild. So more of an open forum type of situation would have been a nice approach for that whole span of time. And again, this is going to stay the way it is until it's changed, right? So this is what we have. This is what we have to work with. And are we appreciative? I'd say, yeah, we are. That we have something that was also a product release that shows there's effort and some type of thought process behind this, but not in the way that where it incentivizes the growth and the want to take part in a referral program like this. You will have the diehard fans who are just going to maybe have this go over their head and be like, hey, a referral code is a referral code. Be grateful for what you get because this is Web3. And, okay, well, different opinions, will go back and forth. But if we're talking about the early adopters in the current community, and why I brought up the Polis price earlier, because if there was huge anticipation on that front as far as locking up your Polis, we would have seen a lot more Polis locked up if there was a clearer understanding on what we're getting. But there's too many unknowns still, even with locking up your investments for so long. That's why I think we haven't seen so much Polis get thrown into it. And sure, give us a little bit more time, give us a week, a month, a year, you'll see it go up. Of course, over time with enough releases and enthusiasm and support and all those good things, we will, number go up everywhere, for the channels on YouTube, for the content creators, for the amount of ships sold, even for price appreciation. But it all weighs on something, right? We don't want to build a house of cards of feel goodness and then, have to, like I said earlier, 3 years down the line, backtrack and then try to fix some certain things. But this is why it's important for our current community to have an open forum of dialogue, so that we can maybe nip things in the bud, and potentially help contribute in a way that's constructive, and not just, hey, we want to make bank off of your referral code and that's the only reason why we're here. We've been doing our show live for a year, and we talked about many other games in the ecosystem. Some guilds don't care about any other game ecosystem, network, layer 1 or 2, and their first exposure was to this one game alone, and they're building their companies and investing only in this ecosystem. So for what it's worth, we're doing a service for not just ourselves here as a community, but for any other project that's being launched in the future. These are the type of questions that have been talked about before. I was even on. We even got together as a podcast from other projects, going through the same growing pains when they release something, and then it's like, hey, it's not really incentivizing anything here, and it's more of like a dumping of. You're allocating more responsibility onto the existing community, or you're extracting, pick a word, there's extractors of just profit and projects who just want money. And then, this is what Karen is talking about, where it's just like the optics of it. If he goes deeper, he might have similar opinions, but that doesn't mean he's wrong, right? And for what it's worth, these types of conversations just need to take place more often. And again, not to bash any projects, but to bring it out as a topic of conversation to just elaborate and brainstorm on.
Yeah, I think the real acid test for something like this type of program would be, and I talk to people about Star Atlas all the time. I don't show it and then go like, and you should buy a ballot, because it's. I think everyone should come to their own conclusions. Right? But that being said, the acid test for the program is, if I knew someone was going to invest in Star Atlas tomorrow, would I go through the trouble of giving them a referral code and being like, make sure you log this so I get credit for it?
Right.
The existing setup and payout, I wouldn't. Even if I referred 100 people to Star Atlas, I wouldn't be bothering with that program. So
yeah, and so that's
the greatest test you have, and the most common sense one, for the fact that it's not a very good.
That's an interesting point, because let's say that. So let's look at the community as a whole, and let's say you've got a folks that don't have a reach. They don't have a show. They're not a content creator. They have their Twitter followers of maybe a couple hundred, maybe even up to 1,000. So who are they going to reach, and how many times are they going to have to post before they even see their first any kind of a reward from this program? And then on the flip side of that, you have content creators who can create traffic, but we know the value of that traffic. And the value of that traffic, we could put that traffic towards something else that has a much greater return than a couple of percent. It's just, that's not what traffic is worth. And content creators know that. And so so then who is the program for? And that's the part where it doesn't really seem like it was well thought out. And hopefully in the future, instead of just releasing these things and say, here you go, they get a roundtable, some of the guilds, and say, this is what we're thinking. How do you guys feel about it? And that way they don't get this, they don't hear after the fact that what you did, you kind of need to change. So.
Yeah. So yeah, moving forward, we're looking forward still on how things are going to be changing, because that's the space we're in. It's a constant change. Anything that's constant is dead. So I mean, that's not moving and changing is ultimately not going to survive. So this is just another bump in the road of the progression of Star Atlas. And for what it's worth, a lot of great points were made, and hopefully it's watched, and then people contribute in the comment section below your thoughts. Maybe we can open up a forum right here before maybe an official one is opened up by the team. I'm sure they're still reaching out in ways that are going to gather more information. And who knows, maybe behind the curtain, this was planned this way, just to see, how the sentiment behind the community, and then, to weed out the minds and the ones who are the most opinionated. I don't know, but I'm still grateful for everything.
They want to start low and ratchet rewards up over time.
Yeah, we've been spoiled. Shame on us.
Yeah. All right, I don't want to just be the reaper of shade slinging here, which I'm often known to do. We've got other stuff to talk about for sure. You there, Fancy? Oh, Fancy, by the way, because he did put this together, I do want to put this up on the screen. This is the last bit about this. He actually took some time and kind of created a spreadsheet, just kind of gives another visual of the program. You want to explain what we're looking at here?
So yeah, they gave us like all the different variables of what we could do, but it wasn't that clear of what like everything lined up. So I gave it my best shot of like all the formulas and things that they set out. It's quite hard to get like an average ship cost to base like the prosperity mark value, especially when you consider like market value versus VWAP. So all of these numbers are volume weighted average purchases. So like the actual rewards we would get would be however lower the market is. So it's around like 75% off, I believe, most things. So yeah, doesn't look great.
Someone mentioned earlier just what was the ship? Just buy the
ballad.
Yeah, the ballad. Why? So what's the reason for doing that? If you bought a ballad in a separate account, the hack is that immediately qualifies you for the high end of the commission rates for the rest of the year. Because I guess this goes the rest of next year, because the reset for this happens yearly. But since we're already into 2022, we'll just carry over into 2023, as I understand it. Anyway, Chow, yeah. So that's that. Where do we want to move on to? We've got what else was covered within 4 to 6. Oh, you do have the video. Should we watch the video?
We can do it, yeah.
Edited by Dominic Bain, I believe.
Is that right?
Shout out.
Shout out.
We see a lot of the same angles. So it'd be like from the showroom. It'd be cool to like be on the upper balconies looking down on these ships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that interface that you showed. That was super clean. That can definitely get a person excited about going up to that console. Imagine if that's where you're doing your ship shopping instead of the way we're doing it in the market now. That'd be pretty cool. You're scrolling through and find your ship. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Seeing the C-11 flying in the sky was
Yeah, that nanite technology at work there with Real Engine 5, being able to see such a structure in the distance moving like that.
Misty fog out there. That's pretty cool.
We could pause it here, or well, I guess there's structures in the back here. I don't know, and there's a lot of time spent on this particular section of just looking over into the horizon. But I'm curious to know if we do know what any of these building or structures are. And it looks like a rail system. So I know Coexist came out with their Real Engine 5 demo, and the last video that was dropped was him in a train being transported. And I guess if we keep playing this, you'll see it extends over your head, and you'll see the behind this avatar. So I don't know. Maybe this is one area of the map of the showroom that we're gonna have, and then over time, there's different parts where you'll take a train, and you'll be transported to a different part.
Well, when you click on teleporter, you know that third option in the middle one said teleport. It gave you these pads out here, and then it also gave you train. So maybe the trains do take you to other places.
Yeah,
I think that's been the discussion so far. That you're going to be able to go to other destinations and things like that. And the way I currently look at Showroom, the way they're building it out, and they've said numerous times, we're going to expand it. There's going to be additional areas that get unlocked. There's going to be all kinds of other features inside it. I really view this as almost like the kernel of like the Unreal Engine 5 universe. That you're really over time going to start seeing this expand out, and you'll be able to do more and more things inside this iterative portion of it. So I'm excited for that. I think Showroom is going to be where the universe starts.
And I'd love to see, like, I keep forgetting the name. On the last couple of shows, we keep showing this collective group of people in one game. What is that game?
Oh, Other Side.
Yeah, other side. I want to see in Showroom where there's a big amphitheater also. That would be cool, where we could do like town halls or things like that. That would be pretty awesome.
For sure.
Yeah, we might do a deeper dive into that next week. I know we've been saying that for a while, but yeah, it was very cool what we saw last week with the other side.
You could host them on the ballot.
Right?
And can I just say though, like, look how massive this thing is. It's just ridiculous. And when you saw like the Thrill of Life get uploaded, you know, at the beginning of the video, one of those guns is the size of that ship. And even then, you can't walk all the way up to it. It's still going to get bigger as you approach it. It's just crazy. I'll admit, you know, I was one of the first people that, you know, me thinking, like, oh, okay, NFT spaceships, this and that. And then even then, you can rationalize with yourself, like, well, how much does a video game spaceship cost? And, you know, when I think about the people that were buying ballots for, you know, $6,000, $7,000, and then I look at that thing in the distance, even if this wasn't a play-to-earn game, it would start making sense to me. Like, holy cow, that's like a final boss thing that you would see like inside a game, and that's going to be 100% yours. You can run around, explore it, pilot it, own it, and you know that's just going to be so absolutely amazing. The ship that I'm looking at in that frame, I could fly it and land it on the other one. It's these larger ships are just going to be absolutely incredible. The value proposition makes a lot more sense to me when I see them in person. And you really think about every game you've ever played, and have you ever actually owned, operated, or piloted something that's that freaking large and huge and fully rendered inside?
And how long does it take to get something like that up to speed, or you know?
Right.
This right here, I wanted to pause it here because this kind of shows you when you click on teleport, you've got two different locations to choose from. You've got indoor and outdoor up top. So for the indoor, you can teleport to the balcony, to the main hall, which is kind of where it feels like we're at now, and then the Hall of Statues. And then let's see if it swings over to outdoor. Here goes outdoor. So for outdoor, we do have the train station. So why would you go to a train station if you're not going to hop on the train? So that's probably going to take you to some other places. And then you got the pier and the outdoor pads. So that's pretty freaking cool. There was one other thing that I thought was interesting on here. See if I can get back to it. It's closer to the beginning. Yeah, this right here, when you're looking at the different ships to be able to select. And then, you know, that's pretty cool. Can you imagine if you're new to the game, but this was the way that you could actually do some shopping, where you can actually come in here and say, hey, you know, what kind of ship do I want? I don't know. Let me pull one up and go and get a look, you know, test out the look and feel of each one. Let me go get in a Fimbul lobby.
And there's that calico skin there as well on the compact hero, which was pretty neat.
Nice.
The red and black one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Once the marketplace is integrated with this, forget about it. The idea that I can go shopping and upload a ship, or I can make a purchase and instantaneously enjoy it, it's going to be awesome. Especially when you factor in the fact that Free Flight is supposed to be around at the same time as the full launch in Showroom in October. It's not going to be that far away from the moment that you're seeing this fully rendered ship in front of you and you can actually do some things with it. It's going to be a powerful combo.
This is a cool concept that Ronald's talking about here. So it's understanding that in Star Citizen, you know, the train could bring you to your friend's showroom. So that would be an interesting thing. So that maybe you get on a train and you have the ability to punch in a particular showroom, and you can go see all of the ships associated with that person. That way you could see all of your ships in your showroom. That'd be a pretty cool concept.
My dream, of course, as a politician, is that one of the stops on that train is going to be the Unreal Engine 5 DAO. Is going to some massive Capitol building structure where there's like Senate chambers and all kinds of things like that. Political activities within the game.
Yeah, that would be awesome. We do also have an update on Lumina's community showroom.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
it does look very cool, and it has a lot of that train footage that we are actually talking about, or his take of it at least.
That's so awesome. I can't even imagine. That ballad, when it's fully rendered, down to like granular detail, and there's all kinds of custom animations running around inside it, interacting with different things. I can't wait to see ships like that flying around, actually fighting each other. I want to see that thrill of like flying around and that ballad firing giant cannon shots all that. It's really awesome to see that real part of the universe that, okay, it's starting to happen. This is what it's going to expand out and grow from. It's becoming real.
Yeah, over time. Yeah, in due time for sure. And I like the process of just being a part of those milestones up until the actual full-on, Real Engine 5. So, I could only sympathize with the team, with the tug of war of the project and the community of trying to manage the balancing act of keeping everyone engaged and updating everyone in the best way they can while building out the game. But of course, this is what we hire people and departments for to do these things. But yeah, I'm just excited for the next Copa event. Like we don't have a for sure date on the next event. And granted, there's obviously going to be some alpha information there, some leaks, some maybe more product releases because Scream is coming up. For those of you who might not know, tuning in for the first time, maybe if you saw us hosting live the 4 to 6 event just the other day, earlier this week. If you're here, welcome. If you're if you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So yeah, just keep in touch, and we do have a guild that goes by the name of Rome. You can join and find out more information at gorome.io. You can learn all about us here. And yeah, another shout out to Dark Matter. Sorry, it's the dark swoop in me. It's stuck.
No
So
soup for you.
right, Dark Matter joining us today. But yeah, I think Star Atlas is doing something completely different. It'll be obvious, and I look forward to just the project getting out there, and
Yeah,
talking
Ray, you
more
shared
about what's going on.
this as well. How about you take this one?
Yes. So yeah, the people have spoken. So this is some nice news. So Lunar Crush does some. We have what do you call it? So you could click on that, actually click on that link of opening up the actual tweet.
Social engagements, yeah, 6.7 million.
Right. So there's a lot of engagement. So some positive news here. If you just think this is a bunch of negative stuff we're talking about, but it's good to see. And things take time. So it wasn't going to be the same day that all this happens where number go up and the engagement just skyrockets. So it's a testing ground and a huge sandbox that we're in as far as like trial and error of trying different things. So yeah, we see the effects of the event now, just a few days later, and it's promising. What they did work on some levels, but nothing's ever perfect, and it shouldn't be the case where the more you know you don't know. We should have some information sooner than later on details when it comes to DAO voting power, maybe a change with the referral code. But through an open forum type of situation where there's a lot of feedback given and conversation.
Do we have that new ship, the Tankship?
Yeah, we can.
That thing's awesome.
Dude, that's a monster.
It also gives us the opportunity to look at the new marketplace. The Fimbul BYOS Tankship was released, like the first ship with this new system. So here we go. So
I was talking this
Commander.
morning to Bomber from Skull and Bones, and just saying it's the closest thing I've seen so far to something that truly looks like a Star Atlas, like classic pirate ship. all the room in the world for loot, and it's just covered every inch of it in cannons.
All right.
Yeah, exceeding the engineer's certified amount of weapons on board. There is 14 capital hard slots.
Yikes.
And yeah, so it is a commander, I believe.
It is, yeah.
Do I have commander weapons on
And it doesn't look like it's meant to maneuver a whole lot. Like it's not trying to go anywhere fast, but if you mess with it, it has the firepower to defend itself.
Right.
Yeah,
Sacrifice some
and
speed for firepower.
this massive gun on top here looks quite deadly.
Yeah, I think the calculation that was being done this morning is it's got slightly more firepower and combat power than a C-11.
Wow.
What is it? I mean, because it's primarily a cargo freight ship, right? So like, what is
It's
it?
Designated as a fighter.
It's a fighter.
Mhm.
Okay, I keep
know
thinking
you
of this
look
thing
at
as
it,
a
you're like,
freight
it's
cargo
a
ship.
It's a freight ship that's built to blow stuff up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been converted.
Just
No
for
smoking.
pirates, specifically.
It's very Mad Max.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's one of these pictures. Wait, there's another massive gun there that I missed. It's camouflaged.
It's another one of those ships that looks like you're going to have a hard time. Like, man, is it flooded? Pump this thing. We got to get it started. Smoke sputtering out. Pop, pop, pop. All right, it's running.
I love how they give that detail to rust on some of the plates on the outside of a
All right,
ship.
Yeah,
check this thing out. Yeah.
3 commander hard points, so 1 on top and 2 on the sides, I assume.
Look at
So
the
that's
steering
a
wheel.
50% increase in commander versus the C-11.
They just got cables over everywhere. Ocean's going to be on top of that.
So,
Calling all OSHA employees.
there's one picture actually. I like this one with the Earp inside. It looks tiny, but
Ah, yes.
small ships aren't.
Wow.
It's going to be exciting to see it. I think the C-11 has way more large hard points for weapons.
Yeah.
And the tank ship, for its hard points, doesn't have as many for the smaller size hard points, but the ones that it does have hit harder. And so it's if you were going to try to swarm a C-11, it would be way better at shutting down flak and smaller targets that are swarming in on it. The tank ship is going to be a lot better at throwing, heavy haymakers and doing serious damage to serious ships. It won't be as equipped for flak.
Right.
And it does say it's got 2 commander slots for cargo, so it is going to carry a lot of cargo.
Yeah, it's not messing around.
So you need to get around 2.5 million with the referral scheme to get a 97,000 ship, like the Fimbul BYOS tank ship.
Better get to tweeting.
It'll blow up the C-11 and then it'll put all the scrap in the hull and just go away. It can fit the full wreck inside.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing these in medium and definitely high risk zone. You're gonna see the usual suspects out there, and this would be definitely one of them. I don't know anyone who've bought one yet, and I don't know if a guild would disclose.
To hear about the first person who gets one.
Yeah, I think it should be known. It'd be
But if you've got the firepower to take one on, and you've got like even enough smaller ships to just kind of swarm it, it's chances are if you see that thing cruising somewhere, it's got some cargo.
Yeah.
So
Pirates.
There's 190 and there's 152 here, so that must be like 38 have been sold, really. Or maybe there's like a higher tier that hasn't.
Or if they've just been
And
held
with the repricing,
market.
I can no longer use my ballad logic. You're like, oh, well, why would I buy that when I could buy 15 ballads for the same amount?
That's true.
That cheat code has been disabled.
So yeah, I do like the new marketplace. It is really efficient. But,
It is.
It's not as easy to like look at your own stuff, I guess, and like see what their price is unless you're using like a third-party website like Afia or the clubs, where it just tells you all the prices next to each other.
Oh, did
Maybe.
that go away? Like, how did you do that before? Would you just go to Faction Fleet and be able to see your ships, but then have to go to the market from there?
For like posters and things. Yeah, that's how I
Oh,
would do
yeah.
it. Because they
Gotcha.
don't appear. Sweet.
Very cool.
So,
Yeah, marketplace is cool. I like what they've done with it for sure.
and the quick mention is the core that they released. This is the graphic novel. And is he holding brains or like roses?
Some type of maybe organic, because it's
Brain
dripping down
roses.
there.
Brains.
It's an alien
You know,
planet, and they're the same. They're roses and their brains. Coming from whatever that thing is in the background.
Yeah, the significance isn't that clear, but it seems to be a something that's dark taking place here. The loss of some life or planet being destroyed. We don't know how.
And what language is this at the bottom? I wonder. Maybe it's just a made-up language for ONI, I believe he is.
Interesting.
I like it. And
No,
there was the second page as well revealed.
I think it's Ooster. Yeah, that's a robot. It's an AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they've done with lore in this for sure. You know, last night I finally got around to binge watching Arcane League of Legends, and it was incredibly well done. So I thought they did a brilliant job with that. So I'm all for game lore for sure. So I'm curious to see what this comes to.
Yeah, they set a incredibly high bar there.
Didn't they? Yeah, no doubt.
They've been working on it for like loads and loads of years just in the background. So yeah, does look interesting, this, and especially if you get it for free in like the Easter egg hunt around the showroom.
Yeah, it's exciting. Up until now, all you had was the original posters, which I love that. If you listen to Dowcaster, when he does his like reading of all the different posters, he had like a Spotify episode on it. Just awesome. Getting lost in the story and the lore of everything. But this is your first revisit back to the universe to actually get an idea of the history of the various factions and things that have gone on. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I do like comics. I like anime. I like, I like it all. And I think this is just another one of those balancing acts of giving the community something to look forward to, other than, and then having the attention reverted or in a way shifted it to a different area of production and development than the actual game. Because you can imagine if there's nothing else happening, when game, and
Right.
okay, taking too long, and screw this, I'm out of here. But we all here in the community are smarter than that, and we actually enjoy the whole process, no matter what it is. But yeah, not to talk for everyone here, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the story, the lore, for all the lore heads out there. It's pretty in depth and exciting to follow up with.
Fancy, did you have you had another video loaded up? I think it was Coexist's showroom. Do we have that?
Yeah, we have two of them actually. So this is a shorter one of their rendition of a rainbow chi.
So sexy.
And we should put a disclaimer in the bottom so people know they're looking at Coexist showroom. Do we have that?
You'd get so much hate out of no. That's what I paid $5,000 for.
Imagine that. You can create that for free, and I paid.
No, Coexist is awesome. I was pretty vocal just the other day, in Foundation Room, just going like, hey, there's these people in their free time that are pretty much building out your game alongside you. What do they have to do to get a job? It's
right.
I'd really like to see Coexist and all of their passion and energy at some point officially partner up with Star Atlas. They're not messing around. They're doing some pretty awesome stuff just in their free time.
Hells yeah.
Shout out to Lumina.
Shout out Lumina and the whole team. Many hands on deck doing all this stuff.
Yeah, Lumina's absolutely amazing. I'm a huge fan of him. It's one thing to be building all of this stuff, but when he gave me the time of day the other day in the brew to really get into like why he's building this, like what the end goal is, what's the point of all of this. I think it's really important to have people with the right intentions and beliefs and desires as a part of the project. And I don't think you could have anybody with better and purer intentions than Lumina involved. Really, really great people. And Lumina especially, awesome guy.
Couldn't agree more, man. Who they are as individuals really shine through with what they create and just how they carry themselves. So it's almost like we're undeserving on some level to have such a great community. But then again, it's everything that we're looking for. So we're going to cherish it and help it grow. Because that's the least we can do as a community, and for related to a project that we all are anticipating and excited about.
And there's two ways I think that you can help put a fire under the feet of a project like this to keep them honest. One's the Karens of the world and battling like negativity and FUD. But the other one is, the Luminas and the Coexists of the world that they really love your project, but they're literally building portions of it right in front of you, sharing it with the community. Go, oh wow, right. we can't get outdone by a crew of a couple of guys doing something in their free time. I think both types of pressure are very healthy.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Is that it? We got more, or is that about a wrap for today?
Yeah, we can end on this beautiful picture that we was given.
Very cool. So this is what ship is this? Is this
it's the city on the Fimbul something, like a tree arrow, perhaps?
It's
Super Phoenix?
It's the Titan version of the trio, right?
Yeah, you can see these bubbles in the background where it's like the humps on the back.
Wow.
Let's go to a community creation. This is official.
Have fun rendering that.
Right. And
when these things actually sell off, I'm sure $1 million or a couple $1 million for a Titan ship buys a heck of a lot of rendering. But this is going to be insane to see when it's an actual cinematic quality asset inside the game. I don't even know what that. You would try to load it up into Showroom. You'd have to go to a different planet just to see it.
Yeah, like right now in Star Citizen, and Tilkin was good enough at the end of 426 to kind of give us a fly through of some of his ships and kind of going around there, and it's fascinating to see that as kind of like a precursor of things to come. And when I think of the metaverse and I think of what Star Atlas they're well positioned to build, imagine there being a day where in one of those buildings, in a pub or a bar in space, that's all the person does. That's their business. It's just they may have never even left the ship. That's just where they hang out. That's where they do everything. All of their in-game and social activity happens in that one little building right there.
It'd be insane.
Yeah, and in shorter term, with a referral product, with a referral system that would support like smaller content creators, you could literally have people just doing their own thing and bringing their customers to you. That's like something people could be doing whenever.
Yeah, how many air bikes do you get if you refer someone to buy a Titan ship?
About 7. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad.
Click this link and then buy the $5 million Super Phoenix.
But that actually won't work. And the reason I say that is because chances are Score is going to be phased out by the time that the Titans are sold. And right now, as it stands, they have to have staked the ship in Score for 7 days. And so that just canceled itself out right there. Well, cool. Awesome show. Awesome having you on. And man, you're a trooper. You stuck it out with us for the full 2.5. Sometimes we go crazy to 3, but this is still a fairly long episode. We've still got a bunch of folks on with us. And of course, we love and appreciate you guys that show up week after week to share your thoughts. And the beauty of it is that, hey, as you can see today, we'll share thoughts whether you agree with this or not. It's all community feedback that we're sharing here, and your comments are welcome. We're not the end all, and we learn just as much from you guys for sure. We just go out and hunt for the things to talk about, share our thoughts, and we're always excited to hear what you have to share as well. And that's also what we bring on guests. And Signal, dude, you definitely contributed a lot today, and it's been awesome having you on with us.
Thank you. This was a really great way to legitimately get to know you guys. It's one thing to bump into each other in Discord. It's another thing to actually get together on something like this and really communicate and interact.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you know what? We also, and this is also a shout out to Star Atlas. I mean, obviously we share things that we like, and we share things that we don't necessarily like, but we do see more and more that people from the team reach out to us and they say, hey, we like your show. We're on here with you. We saw Santi pop in here saying he's taking notes, bringing them back to the team. We see other people that, pop in, and we appreciate that, man. It's awesome because we all want this to win. That's the one thing we absolutely all have in common. So we look forward to more community discussion because that's really what I think is going to drive this forward. Any closing thoughts from any of you guys?
It's a pleasure having you on with us, Signal, and to Cosmo as well. And shout out to the whole Darker Matter team and guild. So keep doing what you guys are doing. Everyone contributes in their own way. And, what are we without the community we have as Rome, and then also as Star Atlas's ecosystem. So, we appreciate the team, everyone who's doing what they're doing to help foster and cultivate a community that is great, just like ours, compared to many other projects that I'm a part of and looking at. So I couldn't ask for more, and I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Any final thoughts, Fancy Hat?
Yeah, the floor's open for any people who think they'd make an interesting guest and any past guests to return. Always happy to see new people or old faces.
Absolutely. And with that, this ends our 52nd episode, 1 year now of doing the Metaverse Nomads. I appreciate all of you, and we'll see you same place, same time next week. Peace out.
Atlas Miner, you were born to push the block in search of ore. And now it's time that you are gone, so farewell, Atlas Miner. And farewell, Mud and ONI too. Who's the sector same to you? The pirate bastards ran him through, so farewell, Atlas Miner. They promised you a diamond mine, but I'll be damned, it's hard to find. I hope there's justice for their crimes, and farewell, Atlas Miner. And farewell, friend, don't take it hard. Getting killed ain't all that bad. They'll treat you well in the repair yard, so farewell, Atlas Miner.